Finally, the world has ended. Pools of blood are trampled by shoes. Someone's desperate cry suddenly rings out. Save me. Terrible screams and cries mingle together. It was clearly just yesterday that this was a bustling town with busy markets. But unexpectedly, in this very town, today, it has finally become like this. Someone suddenly screams in terror. It's a monster. Yes, although it's unbelievable, it's a monster. And from now on, countless people will be bitten and killed by monsters. Then, just like a cycle, all of them will turn into monsters. I guess I'll accept that. After making absolutely sure that I'd finished off the ugly monster in front of me, I breathed a sigh of relief. Then, relaxing my body, I muttered, I can't die like this, never. This story has to rewind. 3 weeks. Right now, on a street corner, someone is reading a newspaper and says in astonishment, "Oh my, look at this. Miss Sinclair is on the front page of the weekly magazine again today." The green-haired girl next to her covers her mouth with her hand and exclaims, "Wow, no one has her charisma, do they? Miss Sinclair, she's both a beautiful lady and the heir to a massive fortune. Not a noble, but a figure admired by the aristocracy. That's me. I'm Cherry Sinclair. Oh, this feels great." Just then, the brown-haired maid suddenly approaches with a face as pale as a steamed bun and dejectedly says, "Miss, please wait a moment. I have to carry these things up." Hearing this, Cherry immediately looks towards the carriage and thinks in surprise, "Oh, right, there's no place to store things there. Looks like hard work, huh? Let's see if anyone's looking." After confirming that there's absolutely no one around, she suddenly reaches out and effortlessly lifts the heavy pile high, then says with a grin, "I'll put them up." The brown-haired maid claps her hands and says, "Miss is really strong. You're both cute and strong, truly our Mississippi." She quickly bows her head and sighs. But doesn't the upper class have a negative view of strong women? So I'm hiding it. She says admiringly, "Even so, I'm envious." Cherry politely replies, "It's not like I was born this way." Then she unconsciously recalls the past. "When I was little, I had a weak body. My parents, feeling sorry for me, searched for some kind of medicine, and a few years after taking that medicine, the thing is I became a little stronger than other people." Just a little, you say? After reminiscing, Cherry cheerfully suggests, "I've moved all the luggage. Now let's go." Suddenly feeling something amiss, she lets out a sound. "Huh." The brown-haired maid, seeing her suddenly stop, asks worriedly, "What's wrong, miss?" Cherry, breaking out in a sweat, turns around and explains with a smile, "No, it's nothing serious, probably just dizziness or something. Let's go." Just as she finished speaking, she quickly stepped into the car, but unexpectedly missed her footing. She cried out in alarm, "Oh," and then fell backwards. Everything changed from that moment. I missed my step because I suddenly felt dizzy. The moment I hit my head on the floor, in pain that felt like shattering, memories flooded in like a torrent. At this moment, Cherry suddenly woke up. Outside, the rain was falling steadily, and it seemed like it would take quite a while for it to stop. After lying still for a moment, catching her breath to calm down, she slowly sat up. The brown-haired maid entered and, seeing this, anxiously asked, "Are you awake, miss?" The doctor said, "It seems you only have a mild concussion. Are you all right?" She softly replied, "Yes, I'm fine." Handing her a handkerchief, the brown-haired maid solicitously asked, "Really? Should I call the doctor?" Cherry quickly reached out to take the handkerchief and replied, "No, I'm okay. But can you bring me all the newspapers that have been collected?" Although a little puzzled, the maid immediately answered, "Yes." Seeing the maid leave, Cherry thought to herself, "Ah, I remember everything now. Who I am, and where this world is. This place is inside the novel I read. The love of the world has crumbled. The so-called love has crumbled. It's a novel set in a world facing destruction. The female lead, Aurora, gathers the male leads and forms a survival team to search for a cure. It's a B-grade, emotional, apocalyptic survival romance novel. In the novel, there are survival camps created by groups of survivors. The scale of the survival camp corresponding to their power. Aurora conquered each camp one by one and seized power. And my role, Cherry Sinclair, is to endanger the male lead's life. A troublesome supporting character who dies from being bitten by a virus monster. No way. In reality, I also died absurdly, hit by a car. Will this world eventually be destroyed too? What should I do now? I don't know about other things, but preventing the world's destruction is impossible. No matter where I run, Wait, run away? That's right. I should just prepare thoroughly in case it happens. Just then, the brown-haired maid entered and said, "Miss, I'm back." Seemingly unaware of the maid's presence, Cherry continued to think, "Moreover, I have memories of my past life." The maid anxiously reminded her, "Miss, you need to rest for a while." Cherry didn't reply, but continued to think, from the monsters that will appear after the world is destroyed, a shelter where I can hide and protect myself. Then she suddenly urged aloud, "Susan, give that to me, quickly," and affirmed to herself, "I will build my own shelter." Reading the newspaper, Cherry couldn't help but think in shock. There are already articles about infected people, which means in less than a month, the world will end. Time is running out. Not even enough for me to arrange the necessary things. First is rice, meaning food supplies. I've already thought about this. Next is emergency funds. No need to worry about cash. And finally, weapons. Thinking about this, Cherry suddenly remembered someone and muttered to herself, wondering if it would be best to ask that person for help. The next morning, in the reception room of the mansion, someone asked in astonishment, "What did you say, miss?" Harrison, the Sinclair family lawyer, asked incredulously, "You want me to find weapons? Why do you suddenly need weapons?" Cherry didn't answer immediately, but thought to herself, "He's Harrison Howard." Then, while sipping her tea, she offered the excuse, "Well, I just suddenly want to be able to protect myself." She continued her internal monologue, *, the Sinclair family lawyer. "After my parents passed away, Harrison took over all family matters, *. For someone like me, who's always been alone since childhood," he asked with a bright smile, "Could you elaborate, miss? What do you intend to use the weapons for?" Touched, she thought, "Harrison is like an older brother to me." He asked with a knowing smile, "You're planning on causing trouble again, aren't you?" Startled, she thought, damn it, it seems this won't be easy to get past. I wish I could handle this myself, but if I purchase such a large quantity of weapons under the name Cherry Sinclair, it's sure to attract attention. However, with Harrison's abilities, he should be able to acquire them quickly and discreetly. So, I must convince him no matter what. The perfect excuse for this situation is that there's something I want to shoot. That's it. I really do want to shoot those monsters. This reason is perfectly convincing, right? Yes, that's it. I really do want to shoot those monsters. This is a perfectly valid reason, isn't it? Harrison suddenly asked, his voice filled with a murderous aura. "Who is this bastard?" Cherry quickly clasped her hands together and smiled sweetly, thinking, I have to be careful with my words. Harrison is overly protective, so he'll definitely investigate thoroughly. In times like these, instead of giving roundabout explanations, it's better to play the role of a troubled young lady. Dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, she choked out, I don't want to talk about it. Perfect. He can't do anything if I say that. Harrison fell silent for a moment, thinking. Then, he said reluctantly, "I understand. I'll take care of it." "That bastard, huh? What specific weapons do you want, miss?" She replied cheerfully, "Swords, crossbows, axes, basically all kinds of weapons." Harrison stood up abruptly and continued, "Then I'll also find an instructor to teach you how to use them." Cherry quickly refused, "But I don't need a teacher." He adjusted his glasses and declared firmly, "Miss, I can't indulge you on this matter." She immediately raised her hands in surrender, thinking the apocalypse is coming anyway, so there won't be a chance to see him again. He had only taken a few steps when she suddenly thought of something and called after him. "If we're going to do this, let's do it properly. I also want to build an armory. You understand what I'm like, right?" He stopped and replied, "Yes, all right. Where do you plan to build this armory?" She answered excitedly, "I'll build it in Brunel Village." "Oh," Harrison might not know, but that village is quite close to the capital. He asked curiously, "Miss, why must it be that village?" She didn't answer, but smiled faintly to herself, thinking, "Why? Because Vanilla survived alone for half a year in a secluded villa in Brunel Village." That's what the novel said. Food is the most important thing in the apocalypse. Even the main character couldn't just sit around because of food shortages. Although that problem was solved by one of the male supporting characters. But that doesn't concern me. For the 6 months before the Aurora group arrived, Vanilla's villa on the hilltop was no different from a fortress. The vast garden was used for farming, and the mountain behind, it was very convenient for gathering food. Self-sufficiency is the first step to survival, so Brunel is the most suitable place to survive. Moreover, in my past life, my parents were farmers, so I learned quite a bit of knowledge from them. It takes about 2 years to meet the male lead who develops the cure. I just need to survive for 2 years, but at this rate, Harrison might not make it. I definitely won't let that happen. He's my only surviving relative. After thinking that, Cherry called out, Harrison. Then she silently encouraged herself. Well, where there's a will, there's a way. Then she spoke seriously. The world is about to end. A disease that turns people into monsters is about to break out. I'm preparing to go to Brunel to deal with the apocalypse. She continued to encourage herself silently. Just try telling him. Harrison was silent for a moment, thinking about something, then asked in a low voice, Miss, do you need your medication again? If you don't like the previous hospital, I'll find a new one. Or perhaps you should be hospitalized for a few days to rest. Cherry shook her head in a panic and explained, No, I was just joking. I just had a super realistic dream. Then, she couldn't help but think resentfully. Asterisk, you think I'm talking nonsense because I had depression after my parents died, right? I took my medicine and I'm fine now. I know you're worried, but I can't just lie in a hospital and wait for the apocalypse. Asterisk, then she forced a smile and continued, It was just a dream. Don't worry about it. Oh, by the way, Harrison, can you come with me to Brunel Village? I'm not familiar with weapons, and I don't have a good eye for those things. As he opened a document, Harrison replied, If you think it's all right, miss, I'll arrange for a specialist to assist you in building an armory. She smiled and pleaded, No, I want to go with you. Without you, there's no one to handle any trouble for me. Seeing her reliance on him, he said, All right, let's just consider it an outing. Receiving his agreement, she cheered happily. Great. One thing settled. Then she clenched her fists and smiled to herself, thinking, Asterisk, both the weapons and Harrison are taken care of. Next is Asterisk. A while later, at a bank, someone asked in surprise, Do you really want to borrow 100 million gold, Miss Sinclair? Cherry smiled and replied, Yes, you heard me right. Then she thought indifferently, If I don't borrow it now, when will I ever get to touch such a large sum of money? The bank manager, sweating, asked again, Do you really want to borrow 100 million gold? Cherry calmly nodded in confirmation. Yes, although I'm not sure I'll spend it all. Hearing that, he quickly bowed his head and apologized. Please excuse me, but I'm a little surprised, as you are the heir to the Sinclair family, yet you're borrowing such a large sum. I'm just asking for procedural purposes, Mississippi. What is the purpose of this loan? She smiled, her eyes crinkling, and replied, To prepare for the end of the world. He was stunned and asked, What? Then, completely disbelieving, he continued, I don't know, miss. Do you need any help? If you are being threatened, I can secretly inform Harrison. She lowered her voice and politely said, No need. This deja vu feeling is awful. He asked with some concern, Is it because of the casino? I also heard that several diamond mines were wagered this time, but I didn't expect it to be this serious. She immediately continued, Mr. Morton, that's not it. We urgently need money for an overseas business project. The Sinclair family is developing many projects. Then she thought to herself, the casino. Not long ago, I ran a casino, like a luxurious playground for spoiled young ladies from wealthy families. But in reality, the income and information from it were enormous. So many people wanted to participate. It seems Morton thinks I need money urgently to expand the casino's scale. Having finished her thoughts, Cherry asked irritably, We no longer manage that casino. I'm even considering transferring the management rights. But why are you asking so much? It feels like you're interrogating me. Do you look down on the Sinclair family? Mr. Morton hurriedly waved his hands in explanation. Oh, no, I will prepare the money immediately. A few minutes later, seeing the bank staff struggling to bring out the money for her, Cherry became extremely excited and laughed happily, thinking to herself, Money is number one. Long live the rich. Although it feels a bit like a scam, when the virus spreads, countries will collapse and money will just be a mess of paper. Before that happens, I have to spend all this money for the apocalypse, stockpiling as many survival supplies as possible. Is this the article following the one I read earlier? Monster Rampage at 61 Nodium Street. Seeing that Cherry seemed quite interested in this news, Mr. Morton offered, Are you interested in any particular article, miss? I'll get it for you. She smiled and replied, Yes, thank you. A while later, Cherry was on her way back to her mansion. Rereading the article carefully, she couldn't help but feel uneasy, thinking to herself, the night this article was published was also the first time monsters appeared in the novel. It was the event where the female lead, Aurora, first encountered Monster. Aurora was adopted by the Lancaster ducal family. She was drawn by an anonymous letter that read, I will reveal the secret of your origins. Come to 61 Nodium Street. At that mansion, she met an infected person who had been starving for days. That's the gist of the story. Oh, that reminds me. That thing will also appear there. The Elfino's herb. To put it simply, it's a kind of herb like a vaccine. It can prevent infection from a single monster bite. No one knows why it has that effect, or why it appeared at the mansion at 61 Nodium Street, because the novel was left unfinished. Damn it, I will definitely bring that herb to Brunel Village. Aurora didn't know how to use this herb, so she left it behind. Later, when she learned its use, she deeply regretted not taking it with her. I don't necessarily have to follow that path. Tonight, I'll go to Nodium Street and get the herb. Elfinos. That evening, Cherry was on Nodium Street. As she walked, she worried to herself. I know this herb is essential, but the thought of encountering monsters makes me nervous. Actually, I only remember the novel from the written words and haven't witnessed it in reality, so it doesn't feel quite real. But I'm here now, so I have to be careful. If you get bitten by a monster, you'll get infected and turn into one. The monsters have different characteristics depending on their bodies before infection. Some become incredibly strong, others lightning fast. But the monsters also have weaknesses. They have poor eyesight, but their hearing is very sensitive. They're afraid of hot things like fire. As a precaution, I brought an axe and some homemade Molotov cocktails based on what I remember from the novel. My back is almost breaking from carrying them. If monsters appear, I'll throw the Molotovs to scatter them and then use the axe to strike their heads. Suddenly, she heard someone scream, making Cherry jump in fright. What was that? A scream? Are the monsters already out? This isn't like the novel. She suddenly noticed a girl with platinum blonde hair in front of her. Having accidentally stepped on the girl's cloak, Cherry winced. Ouch. I almost fell. This caught Cherry's attention. Long, wavy platinum blonde hair. She blushed and giggled nervously that I hope no one saw that. Her amethyst eyes sparkled. She said with a touch of worry, if he saw, he'd scold me for sure. Stopping at mansion number 61 on Nodium Street with that letter. It's her. The main character of this novel, Aurora Lancaster. She was adopted by the Lancaster family after losing her memory at 15. Duke Lancaster and her brother, Eden, shower her with love, but she's always curious about her origins. It's a classic storyline in those TV dramas. If I were Aurora, I'd probably take the risk of coming here too. But why is she just standing outside the door? Could it be she can't open the door? More clumsy than I thought. How cute. It's best to wait for Aurora to encounter a monster and then sneak in and search the house. But I don't know when she'll go outside, and there's no need to drag this out. So I'll quickly get the herb and leave before anything happens. Having thought this, Cherry immediately slipped inside the mansion through a window. She looked around for a moment, then smirked to herself. It's quiet inside, as if no one's here. But I know that's not true. The infected must have been holding out here for several days now. I have to be extremely careful. What was that? There was a noise just now behind me. Thinking this, Cherry immediately turned around to look. She realized the sound that had startled her was just this small box falling. Relieved, she let down her guard. That scared me. I thought it was a monster. It's just a small box. But where did it fall from? The symbol on the box. It's the Elfino's herb. It's exactly what I need. This saves me the trouble of searching. Now I just need to quietly leave. Just as Cherry was about to slip away with the Elfino's herb. Then, suddenly, a man in a white shirt appeared, surprising her. She thought to herself, a living person. He looked pale and weak as he pleaded, help me. She didn't reply, observing him for a few seconds, then thought in astonishment. Asterisk, how can there be someone here? According to the original story, no one should be here except Aurora. Asterisk, he weakly pleaded again, help me. She immediately reassured him, wait, I'll help you. Please calm down and answer. Me. Cherry hadn't even finished her question when blood suddenly started flowing from his nose. Seeing that his blood had turned green, she immediately asked cautiously, were you bitten by a monster? Just as she finished speaking, a monster with long, stringy hair suddenly appeared in front of them both. Seeing this, the man's face paled, and he trembled as he explained, no, that monster is tied up in the room. Cherry was suspicious. Thinking, tied up? Then she quickly asked, is there anyone else here? He honestly replied, no one else. I only came here because I couldn't contact my sister. Hearing this, Cherry couldn't help but wonder, then who tied up that monster? She then quickly jumped back to avoid the monster's sudden fall and shouted, who's there? He didn't answer, paralyzed with fear, and collapsed onto the floor. Then he abruptly stood up and ran away, shouting, help me. Seeing this, Cherry thought angrily, whatever, let him run. Asterisk, there's nothing stopping me now. How do I get out of here safely? Asterisk. At the same time, outside the door, after fumbling around for a while, Aurora suddenly exclaimed happily, ah, it's open. She quickly opened the door and entered, politely saying, excuse me. Then she wondered to herself, should I go in? Just then, the man in the white shirt suddenly rushed out like the wind, shouting in panic, get out of the way. Monster, help! Seeing this, Aurora couldn't help but wonder in confusion. What was that all about? Suddenly, she saw someone coming out from inside, so she immediately asked, who's that in there? As soon as she finished asking, a rainbow-colored monster suddenly rushed out. Terrified, Aurora screamed, ah, and collapsed to the ground, trembling as she said, A monster. Seeing it about to attack her, she screamed again, ah, and shouted a warning, stay back. Cherry, running out, saw this and thought wearily, Asterisk Aurora. Huh? Damn it. Asterisk a few moments later, wiping her tears, Aurora sobbed. Thank you for saving me. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't dare to imagine what would have happened to me. You're my lifesaver. Cherry rubbed her forehead and thought with exasperation. This is so frustrating. Then she quickly asked, did you see the man who just ran out of this house? Aurora replied, ah, he just ran into that alley. Hearing this, Cherry sighed in relief, thinking, asterisk thank goodness. It seems he survived and escaped safely. Although many things didn't go as planned, luckily, I got the herb, asterisk. No one was hurt and the monster was eliminated, but a large crowd gathering here will cause a big problem. I have to leave before things get worse. Thinking to herself, Cherry smiled and said goodbye. Well then, I'll excuse myself. But before she could finish her sentence, someone shone a light directly in her face and asked loudly, who's there? Aurora, what are you doing here at this hour? She asked back, puzzled, what are you doing here? Upon seeing his face, Cherry was immediately stunned, thinking, whoa, so handsome. Oh wait, now's not the time to admire him. Oh wait, if he's Aurora's brother. He quickly put his flashlight and gun away and replied, I'm on patrol. I received a report. After a few seconds of recollection, she couldn't help but feel delighted, thinking, so this is Aurora's brother, Eden Alkin Lancaster. He's not only the most talented character in the story, but he also possesses antibodies against the virus. I can't believe I'm meeting someone I wanted to see. In person, Aurora grinned and introduced him. This person helped me escape from the monster. Eden narrowed his eyes in disbelief and repeated, monster. Seeing his reaction, Cherry panicked, thinking, no good. In this ambiguous situation, if they find out I'm Cherry Sinclair, I'll definitely be investigated and waste valuable time. Just as she was unsure how to handle the situation, his colleague called out, Eden, come over here for a second. He replied, I'm coming. Wait a moment. She lowered her head and thought, it's a shame, but before I get more involved, Eden walked over, and his colleague immediately said, look at this. Upon seeing the monster's corpse, he was startled and exclaimed, holy crap, what is that? Then, in disbelief, he thought, did that girl just catch this monster? Just then, Aurora suddenly shouted, wait, my benefactor, where are you going? Cherry didn't answer, apologizing silently in her heart. I'm sorry, Aurora. Aurora sincerely pleaded, please tell me your name before you leave. Cherry still didn't reply, continuing to think, I don't want to get caught up in this. Chasing after Cherry, Eden shouted, stop. She thought frantically, try stopping yourself if you were in my shoes. This is so frustrating. Shouts, why am I being chased by Eden all of a sudden? Pulling her along, he said with a hint of annoyance, wouldn't it have been better if you had just stopped? You can't run far anyway. I'm grateful that you saved my sister, but running away like this is a bit suspicious. Cherry pulled her hood down further and silently replied in her mind, if I stayed, you'd try to pry my identity out of me. That's why I had to run. But running isn't always safe. La la la. Time to go pack my things. She couldn't believe Eden had left Aurora behind to chase her. What the heck? Seriously? Seeing that she wouldn't say a word to him, he asked irritably, not going to answer? Well, who are you that you're so determined to hide your face? I'll have to investigate this. Hearing this, Cherry thought fearfully, what do I do? He's really dragging me away. I guess I'll have to knock him out. Before she could finish her thought, someone suddenly shouted in the distance, causing Eden to ask himself in surprise, what was that? Seeing her chance, Cherry quickly flung his hand away and thought, now's my chance. Seeing her run off just like that, he exclaimed in exasperation, hey you. She ran while looking back at him and smiled mischievously, thinking to herself, asterisk it seems Aurora is having a problem. Let's see if he still chases after me. Asterisk he frowned at her and gritted his teeth, exclaiming, damn it. Suddenly, he saw something sparkling on the ground, so he quickly walked over and bent down to pick it up. The object in his hand looked somewhat familiar. It made her gasp in surprise and think, asterisk, oh, my hairpin. How did it end up there? No way. Asterisk the next morning at Cherry's mansion, she suddenly sighed and complained, this is driving me crazy. Then, she dejectedly thought, asterisk, I'm not Cinderella. Why did I drop my hairpin at that very moment? How can I get it back from Eden? It's not just any other item. It's the last gift my father gave me before he passed away. Asterisk. Asterisk, stupid Kim Cherry. Why did you drop such an important item there? Asterisk thinking this, Cherry suddenly laughed loudly and muttered reassuringly to herself, it's okay. He probably doesn't know that hairpin is mine, even though my initials are engraved on the back. Just then, someone suddenly knocked on the door and entered. Then, they respectfully announced, Mr. Eden from the Lancaster family called. Her face paled, and she asked in a panicked voice, Eden, that high-ranking figure called me? What for? Sajana smiled and replied, he had a private reason and couldn't tell me, miss. He wants to speak with you directly. Cherry listlessly suggested, just tell him I'm not home. Say I'm traveling. He'll probably only call once, right? Sajana replied, yes, Mississippi. I'll tell him that. Have you finished packing your belongings, miss? Cherry quickly asked, yes. And Sajana, have you finished packing? She replied, of course, Mississippi. I'll inform a head maid and come down right away. Hearing this, Cherry felt a warmth spread through her and thought with emotion. Sajana is truly an angel. Even when I suddenly suggested moving to Brunel, she agreed without hesitation. When I said I might be in Brunel for a long time, she said there was no reason for her to stay in the capital and packed her bags with me. Finishing her thoughts, Cherry smiled brightly and said, you must have been surprised. Thank you, Sajana. Sajana smiled and replied, wherever you are, miss, I'll be there. Cherry quickly hugged her and said affectionately, all right, see you in Brunel. Sajana cheerfully replied, yes, Mississippi. I'll call Mr. Eden now. After Sajana left, Cherry searched for information in the newspaper while thinking, let's see if there are any articles about the monster. Benton Capital, disturbance at 61, Nottingham Street. Victim is the young lady of the Lancaster family. Asterisk is expected. That scream was Aurora's. Although it's called a disturbance, asterisk. Asterisk, fortunately, she's safe. Just as I predicted, there's no information about the monster. Someone is definitely trying to hide this truth. Otherwise, why wouldn't they write a single line about the monster, even though so many people witnessed it? Asterisk. In this situation, even if I tell the truth, having no proof will only make others think I'm asterisk crazy. Even Harrison told me I should go to the hospital. What will others think? The only person I know who could be behind this, Marquis Casey, is dead. Asterisk. Asterisk investigating the incident, uncovering the truth, and stopping the situation. There's simply not enough time. So, I'll just go to Brunel. Asterisk that afternoon, at the mansion at 61, Nottingham Street. Two noble young ladies suddenly blushed, flustered. She saw the handsome Eden leaning against the fence, reading a newspaper. The headline read, exclusive, Sinclair heiress borrows 100 million gold. A bold move for the future queen of the Sinclair family, or the end of a fading star. He thought to himself, Cherry Sinclair's on the front page again. It's not surprising someone with her extravagant lifestyle would borrow money, but to inherit such a vast family fortune and still need a loan? There must be another reason. Just then, someone suddenly asked, what are you doing here? Eden replied, Inspector, you're here. The inspector asked, somewhat surprised, I told you to withdraw from this case. Eden calmly replied, how could I? I was at the scene. The inspector said, a little exasperated, you're so stubborn. And you're reading about Cherry Sinclair again? I heard you just called the Sinclair family. Eden, sweating uncomfortably, thought, what? It's like I'm obsessed with Cherry Sinclair. The inspector cautioned, it's best you don't get involved with the Sinclairs. You know how troublesome those tycoons can be. Just do your job, and you'll be promoted to chief inspector soon enough. Eden Auchen Lancaster was a unique individual, having given up his position as a duke to become a police officer. The Lancaster dukedom wasn't pleased with his chosen path. However, his noble birth couldn't be erased, so his smooth advancement within the force was a given. Eden turned his head, firmly stating, I didn't become a police officer to be chief inspector. If I needed prestige, I would have inherited the dukedom. Inspector, the Benton Daily hasn't mentioned a word about that monster. The inspector explained, that's an order from higher-ups. They've requested we don't cause public unrest until the matter is clarified. You shouldn't dig too deep. Eden was silent for a moment, then thought, wide-eyed, higher-ups. Seeing Eden suddenly walk away, the inspector quickly asked, where are you going? Eden calmly turned and replied, I received a report about a large shipment of smuggled firearms from the Brus Kingdom. Thanks to you, Inspector, I have nothing left to do here. Excuse me. The inspector scratched his head, asking awkwardly who reported it. Eden pulled his hat down, calmly adding, I'll handle this myself. Goodbye, Inspector. Meanwhile, Cherry was in a car heading towards Brunel Village. Feeling rather idle, she retraced the route in her mind to pass the time. From the capital, Benton, through the stations of Westmore, Hondaff, and finally Kintner. After disembarking at Kintner Station, she would continue by carriage, heading deep into the mountains. To a remote village with no cars or trams. Brunel, oh my back. Finally here. Brunel, the village where I'll build my hideout. It was a long journey, but thanks to the train, it was relatively quick. Anyway, I have to admit, this place is better than I thought. Even though it's a small village, it has all the necessary shops for survival. Like a general store, a food market, a clinic, and a weapons shop. I could use this entire village as a survival camp. If possible, I'd like to buy the whole village. But I know, not everything can be bought with money. Is that mansion where I'll live in the future? I believe it even if someone said there's a monster there. This secluded mansion in the village where Vanilla used to live in the novel, is it? The mansion stands firmly on a hill, like a fortress. Seeing in person, I understand why Vanilla could last so long. The village is in front, and a large mountain is behind. I don't know if this mansion really belongs to Vanilla, but the village chief introduced me, and I bought it directly from her. But why hasn't Vanilla arrived yet? I have a bad feeling. I hope nothing happens. That evening, in a deserted alley, someone suddenly pushed someone's head to the ground, making him cry out in pain, why? Why are you arresting me? Eden snapped back. You're asking why? Don't you know that commoners in the Grayson Kingdom are forbidden to own weapons? I caught you red-handed trading with an armed smuggler from the Brust Kingdom, and you're still denying it? You ran away so desperately, clearly trying to hide something. He couldn't help but wonder, what's with this deja vu feeling? Eden angrily interrogated, I heard the smuggled weapons are all being transferred to a remote countryside. Where is it? I don't know. I'm just a deliver man. He loudly scolded, don't talk nonsense. See, that passerby is even answering for you. Suddenly realizing something, Eden released him and declared, Harrison Howard is definitely behind this, but is the person who needs these weapons. Cherry Sinclair. You might be wondering why I suspect Cherry Sinclair. Although I told Inspector Maxwell that I received a report, I actually saw Jose, a Bruss arms dealer, secretly meeting with Harrison Howard. If Harrison Howard is behind this, everyone knows who's pulling his strings. Sajana respectfully excused, I apologize, my lady is currently traveling abroad. But when I tried to confirm with the Sinclair family, they kept avoiding contact. The sole heir of the Sinclair family disappears right after borrowing 100 million gold. Is that a coincidence? The arms dealer hastily confessed, I only heard that Cherry Sinclair left for Brunel today. Eden eagerly asked, today? Where's Brunel? He stammered, I'm not sure. I only know it's a small village that doesn't even have a train station. Eden quickly sat down on a nearby crate, put his feet up, and thought, why would a lady famous for her extravagant lifestyle go to a remote village without a train station? If Cherry Sinclair really is the one who ordered a large quantity of weapons, Eden suddenly turned and left, chuckling, I'm really curious about the reason. The man sighed helplessly. What's he going to do now? The next morning, in Brunel Village, Cherry was reading the newspaper and muttering, The Sinclair heir borrows 100 million gold for the reason of expanding business overseas, but there's no sign of any overseas project. Where is Cherry Sinclair now? Is this a disappearance or an escape? We are still investigating. Then she gently sipped her tea and thought, more like an escape, huh? I'm on the front page again today. Let them gossip all they want. When the world ends, they won't have time to write these articles anyway. Harrison probably knows about the loan by now. Whatever, he'll just relax about it like always. I wonder when Vanilla will get here. I hope I can see her today. Oh, the police officer across the street. I can tell just by looking, he has such an impressive aura. I'm bored, so this is a nice distraction. Golden hair like spun gold, a sharp nose, and crimson lips, and a perfectly buttoned uniform. This is crazy. How can it be a guy this much my type in such a small village? Wait, hold on, could that person be? Cherry called out in astonishment. Eden Auckland Lancaster. He gave an apologetic smile and excused himself. Then, with a wide smile, he asked, all the seats are taken. Do you mind if I sit with you? She panicked, wondering to herself, why is he here? Eden approached, lowering his voice. May I sit with you? Cherry stammered in surprise. Why, yes. She thought to herself, my voice cracked, like I'm making myself look suspicious. Eden, oblivious to her awkwardness, said with a bright smile, I looked around and couldn't find any other seats. Seeing his smile, Cherry's heart pounded uncontrollably. Enough, please, make yourself comfortable. A moment later, the waiter came out and asked him with a cheerful smile, what can I get for you? Cherry sat across from him, trying to appear calm while sipping her tea. But inside, she was panicking, thinking, calm down, Cherry. I don't know what Eden is doing here, but if he asks about the Nodium incident, I'll deny it first. After the waitress left, Eden turned to her with a gentle smile and said, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. I didn't expect we'd run into each other here. Hearing this, Cherry chuckled and asked, "You know me?" She immediately realized her mistake, thinking, "Of course he knows me." Eden's smile widened as he replied, "Cherry Sinclair, you're quite famous. There's news about you in the papers every day." Seeing him staring at her as he spoke, she worriedly speculated, "What is this? Is he probing me? It'd be better if he just asked directly, so I can make up a story." Maintaining her composure, she said, "So that's it. I guess I'm pretty famous." Suddenly, Eden extended his hand with a polite smile. "Excuse my manners. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Eden Duke in Lancaster, a special agent with the Benton Police Department." Cherry thought, as if anyone doesn't know. In Benton, no criminal escapes Eden's grasp. That's why he's nicknamed Benton's Mad Dog. But now that Mad Dog is sitting right in front of me. She quickly shook his hand, replying with a bright smile, "My goodness, what a coincidence. Eden Duke and Lancaster. Aren't you all so often in the newspapers?" She continued, "I'm so curious. What brings you to this place?" Eden humbly replied, "My reputation can't compare to yours, Miss Sinclair." He then looked at her with probing eyes and asked with a slight smile, "And you? What are you doing in this remote place?" Cherry calmly replied, "Me? I'm looking for a villa to vacation in." "What about you, Agent Lancaster?" Eden calmly adjusted his hat and answered, "I've been transferred here." Cherry looked at him skeptically. "Transferred? You think I believe that? Someone from the Lancaster family transferred to this backwater place?" Eden didn't argue, simply replying, "Yes. I have a feeling something is about to happen here. Yes." At this point, Cherry grew impatient and looked at him, asking, "What is it?" Suddenly, someone approached from the front, coughing a few times, interrupting their conversation. The newcomer was a beautiful girl, but her expression was cold. She asked boredly, "Excuse me for interrupting, but who bought the villa on the hill?" Cherry had never felt so relieved. She stood up, raised her hand, and said, "Ah, it was me." She thought to herself, perfect timing. The girl who had just arrived continued indifferently, "I'm here to deliver the key." Then she took a key from her pocket and introduced herself. "I'm Vanilla Eddie Roskin, the former owner of the villa." Seeing her demeanor, Cherry silently assessed her. Contrary to her gentle name, her appearance is rather cold, isn't it? Taking the key from her hand, Cherry smiled brightly and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Roskin. You've received the contract, right? So, from now on, I'm officially the new owner of the villa, right?" At some point, Eden had come up behind her. He asked curiously, "A villa?" The heir of the Sinclair family bought a deserted villa. Hearing him say that, Cherry whispered irritably, "Be quiet. Do you think I go around bragging about being the Sinclair heir?" Eden didn't answer her question but asked back, "Don't you?" Cherry thought to herself, no, but doing so would be troublesome. At this moment, Vanilla said coldly, "Don't worry, I only care about the money. Whether you're Cherry Sinclair or Mango Sinclair, I don't care." Seeing this, Cherry stammered, "Oh yes." In her mind, she assessed, so Vanilla is a slave to capitalism. Suddenly, Eden asked, "What's that?" Vanilla saw him pointing at the bird she was holding and replied, "Oh, this? As you can see, it's a bird. The pay was quite good, so I hunted a few at the request of the village school. I'm a hunter. This gun, see?" Cherry thought to herself, "Ah, so that's it." In the novel, the reason Vanilla could survive alone for half a year wasn't just because of the villa's excellent defense system, but also because of her self-sufficiency. Thinking of this, Cherry looked at Vanilla with sparkling eyes, exclaiming internally, "I really want to invite her to be a teammate at the shelter." Seeing that sparkling gaze, Vanilla said uncomfortably, "After all, Brunel is a remote countryside, and as you can see, the villa is located in a very remote place." She thought to herself, "So cute." But outwardly, Vanilla continued coldly, "I advise you not to buy it, but you insisted, so don't expect me to refund your money later." Hearing this, Cherry smiled brightly and agreed. "All right, buying that villa was entirely my choice." Seeing her like that, Vanilla didn't say anything more, only stating, "I'll be staying in this village for a while, so call me if you need anything." Thinking of something, Vanilla quickly added, "Oh, of course, there's a fee. Even if Ms. Sinclair is beautiful and lovely, I won't give you a discount." Hearing this, Cherry was overjoyed and replied with a bright smile, "Ms. Roskin, is there anything special about that villa? I'm just curious. Are there any hidden facilities suitable for self-sufficient living?" Inwardly, she thought, she really has a good eye for people, making me want to invite her to be a teammate even more. Vanilla thought for a moment and then replied, "Hidden facilities? Let's see, I'm not sure. A moment later, Cherry left with the blueprint of the house. Looking at the blueprint, she thought, strange. It's clear that in the novel, Vanilla described that villa as very special. It was optimized for survival. But the blueprints Vanilla gave me aren't anything special, just a good location, convenient for self-sufficiency. Cherry turned around, annoyed, thinking, why does he keep following me? Eden was supposed to be facing the apocalypse with Aurora in the capital. Suddenly, Eden looked up at her, and their eyes met. Startled, she looked away, thinking, asterisk, he knows I'm the owner of the brooch. I try to convince myself he came here for something else, but asterisk thinking this, Cherry turned back and asked loudly, hey, why are you following me? She thought, asterisk, he can't do anything to me with just suspicion. Can he? Does he have a search warrant? Asterisk. Ignoring her anger, Eden calmly replied, it's just that the villa looks quite secluded and dangerous, so someone could be hiding weapons or illegal money there. Surprised by his response, Cherry said incredulously, what? If you're so concerned, then just look through the villa. She suddenly realized something, thinking, wait, weapons. She remembered Harrison telling her, Miss, what kind of old weapons do you want? Then I will find a teacher to instruct you on how to use them. Thinking this, she speculated, is he interested in the weapons, not the brooch? Eden, seeing her sudden silence, chuckled and asked, what's wrong? Did you suddenly think of a reason why I'm not allowed inside? Worried, she thought, asterisk, I can deny the brooch, but the weapons are different. If I'm found to be involved with something the Empire strictly prohibits, things will get messy, asterisk. Scared, she held up her hands in an X and said loudly, of course, how can I let a strange man into my house? Eden replied calmly, but I'm a police officer, not letting him finish. Cherry frantically interrupted, a police officer is still a strange man. Men are still men. She thought, he can't come in, not before the apocalypse. Eden persisted. Yes, but Cherry immediately cut him off, shouting, if you don't have a search warrant, you're just a strange man, a beast. A beast. Defeated, Eden gave up, and Cherry temporarily escaped. Cherry's happy house. Arriving at the villa's gate, Cherry looked at it happily, thinking, this is where I'll live for the next 2 years. It's as big as I expected, spacious, and just like a pile of rubble. Cherry looked around in disbelief. She hadn't expected the villa to be this dilapidated. She wondered, can I clean all this up by myself? After a moment, Cherry regained her motivation, clenching her fists with determination. Asterisk, it's okay. I won't know until I try. Come on, Cherry, you can do this. Let's go. Cherry's happy house. Asterisk Cherry had no idea that in the future, the name Cherry's happy house would be recorded in history books. Because of this, Cherry later said that if she had known, she wouldn't have given it that name. Looking at the blueprints, she thought, in the center is a fountain, in front is a garden, and next to the garden is a well and a shed that looks like a warehouse. It'll be at least 2 more years before the cure is developed. So to survive until then, I have to turn this place into a self-sufficient environment. Cherry looked around, assessing the area. Just like Vanilla said, this large garden is perfect for farming. I also have to build a defensive fence to ensure the safety of the villa. Having thought it over, she happily exclaimed, perfect plan. Let's proceed step by step. As Cherry cheerfully held the blueprint up high, she accidentally noticed some hidden writing on the paper. Puzzled, she uttered, what's this? There's something written in the corner of the blueprint. Brunel, Nodium. But she didn't pay much attention, thinking to herself, Brunel is this place, and Nodium is the name of a street in the capital. I don't know. I'll ask Vanilla later. Entering the villa, Cherry excitedly laughed and shouted, the first thing I need to do is clean the rooms, of course. Entering a bedroom, she mused, clean up these dusty areas, and then buy some more furniture. Should do it. Looking around, she cheerfully assessed, this room has a fireplace. Great. Suddenly, Cherry looked inside the fireplace and saw a white mass. Startled, she wondered, wait, what? What was burned here? Clothes, and what is that? Could those be human bones? Really? Frightened, she took a dry twig nearby and brushed away the embers on top of the white mass, then realized, what? It's just chalk. Now worried, she picked up a burnt piece of cloth near the chalk, thinking to herself, but why is there a torn piece of cloth in the fireplace? That's strange. I'll clean it up later. Cherry sat motionless, squatting in front of the fireplace, feeling a little scared. After a while, regaining her confidence, she encouraged herself, no, Cherry, you can't be weak. From now on, this place will be my home. Then, she changed her clothes and started cleaning the villa. But after just a few hours of cleaning, she was exhausted. Lying motionless on the floor in the clean bedroom, Cherry wearily thought, damn, this isn't something a human can do. Time is running out. Should I hire someone to clean it all at once? I don't have the energy to do it all myself anyway. Right, I'll call Harrison. Having decided, Cherry left the villa and went outside. But unbelievably, all the phone lines were down, so she could only send a letter and return. Sitting at a cafe, she wearily slumped over the table, thinking, living here is so difficult. How can even the neighboring village not have a phone? While feeling discouraged, she suddenly heard a voice in front of her. Pretty lady, buy some flowers? We have newspapers today, too. Cherry looked up to see a little girl with sparkling eyes. Hearing this, she smiled brightly and replied, "Oh my, how adorable. All right, give me a newspaper too, please." The little girl quickly accepted the gold coin Cherry gave her, replying, "Yes, thank you, pretty lady." Watching the little girl run off, Cherry thought to herself, I might as well read the newspaper for a bit to relax. Reading the first page, she unexpectedly found it was about her. Gossip Girl's absence leaves social gatherings subdued. Everyone is waiting for Cherry Sinclair. Where is she now? After reading the headline, Cherry couldn't help but scoff. It's the same boring articles as always. The next page talked about the Segrave family, truly connected to ancient artifacts. Cherry pondered Segrave. Segrave is a family associated with many legends, as if they only exist in fairy tales. Known as heroes who protect the world from evil, and regarded as the protectors of humanity. Reading up to this point, Cherry sighed. If only such a family really existed. It would be even better if they could deal with the virus too. Eden, who had appeared at some point, was sitting in front of her, reading the newspaper. Hearing her say that, he asked, "Deal with what?" Annoyed by his silence, Cherry asked, "What are you doing here?" Eden calmly replied, "I'm on duty." Hearing this, Cherry crumpled the newspaper in her hand, but forced a smile and said, "Right, of course you are." At that moment, a waiter approached and said, "Your orange juice, miss." Cherry looked up, surprised and delighted. "Miss Roskin," she exclaimed. Smiling brightly, she asked, "What are you doing here?" Vanilla replied indifferently, "I'm working." Cherry, inwardly wondering, Vanilla is a noble, isn't she? Put on a cheerful facade and said, "Good luck." After she spoke, the atmosphere suddenly fell silent. Cherry smiled gently and asked, "Is there something you wanted to say?" Vanilla looked at her seriously and said, "You haven't given me a tip." Flustered, Cherry quickly took out a gold coin and handed it to her, replying, "Oh, right. Here." Watching Vanilla accept the tip from Eden, Cherry thought to herself, Asterisk Vanilla is very different from what I imagined. Oh, since we've met here, should I ask about that? Asterisk. Thinking this, Cherry hesitantly spoke. "Wait a minute, Miss Roskin. Could you take a look at this?" She handed Vanilla the paper on which she'd copied the writing from the villa blueprint. Holding the paper, Cherry stood up and asked, "Do you know anything about this note?" She paused, then continued, "I found it written on the villa's blueprint. It says, remember this. Number 1 is Brunel. Number 3 is Stream. Number 6 is Hex. Number 8 is Nodium." After reading it, Vanilla fell silent, lost in thought. Seeing this, Cherry continued, "Brunel is the name of this village, and Nodium is the name of a street in the capital. But I don't know what Stream or Hex are. And it says, remember this, too." After a moment of thought, Vanilla spoke casually, "I'm not sure either. I didn't write this, but the handwriting does look like my father's. I only inherited the villa." Cherry nodded in response, "I see." She thought to herself, Astor's Happy House was originally Vanilla's father's property, but he left it as an inheritance after he passed away, right? The information about the villa seems very important. Not knowing it could be troublesome. Asterisk. Suddenly, Vanilla asked, "If it was written on the blueprint, it must be related to the villa, right?" Cherry replied seriously, "I don't know. You say it's related to the villa, but Nodium is the name of a street." Vanilla spoke up, "That's true, but what if there's a villa owned by the Roskin family there? I also have a villa in Nodium." Seeing this, Cherry continued, "What about Hex and Stream?" Vanilla honestly replied, "I don't know about those two." Suddenly, Eden, who had been silent until now, spoke up, "Hexit. It's a street near West Mall Station." Hearing this, Vanilla suddenly understood and replied, "Then that makes sense. I also inherited a villa in West Mall." Cherry, annoyed, thought to herself, as expected, he heard everything. Then she asked with a bright smile, "What about the numbers written before the place names? Do you know what they mean?" Vanilla calmly replied, "Let's see. I don't know anything." Looking at her expression, Cherry thought, that's the same expression she makes when she doesn't understand what the teacher is saying. Then she said, "Thank you for telling me." Cherry spoke up again, "Oh, do you know anyone reliable who could help me with cleaning?" Vanilla asked, puzzled. Cleaning. Cherry put on a pitiful expression and replied, "Yes, there's a lot of old furniture that needs to be cleared out, and the villa is too big for me to handle alone." Hearing this, Vanilla awkwardly said, "I don't know anyone who specializes in cleaning, but I know a few people who might be able to help you. Let me introduce you." Cherry quickly replied, "Yes, if you could introduce me to someone discreet to avoid any unpleasant rumors, well then." A moment later, Vanilla returned to her work. Cherry cheerfully drank her water, happily thinking to herself, I feel a bit more at ease now. At first, I felt a little uneasy, but if that's just a list of the villas Roskin owns, then perhaps I don't have to worry anymore. At this moment, Eden suddenly spoke up. Look at this. He handed her a newspaper and continued. Miss Cherry, you're a bit of an enigma, so I've been reading the papers to understand you better, and I happened to come across a rather curious article. Cherry asked curiously, a curious article? What is it? She took the newspaper he offered and read the headline. Sinclair heir, Cherry Sinclair, worst cricket player in history. After reading it, she thought to herself, where did he find this article? Cherry asked him, what's so curious about it? Eden spoke seriously. Don't you play cricket anymore? If you were a player, you must have had some skill. Hearing this, Cherry calmly replied, you can probably guess from reading the article. I was terrible. The reason I was able to compete was because my parents secretly sponsored the team. She chuckled and continued, back then, I didn't know, so I thought it was because of my own skill. But thinking back, that team only needed the Sinclair name. Even now, quite a few people approach me that way, so I can easily recognize it. After speaking, she sighed inwardly. If only I had the extraordinary power I have now back then. Then Cherry turned to look at Eden and saw him frowning at the ground. She thought to herself, and what's this? Feeling guilty for bringing this up? He's a bit unpleasant, but overall, he's a good person, right? That's how the female lead's brother should be. Then she suddenly brought a handkerchief up to wipe away non-existent tears and continued, but it's all right now. It's all in the past. I'm often misunderstood because of my image, to the point where I look like someone who could hide weapons in their villa. Seeing her like this, Eden was at a loss for words. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Cherry stood up and choked out, I'll be going now. I have things to do. You continue with your official duties. After turning her back and leaving, she thought to herself with a cold expression, this approach probably won't work on him, but whatever. I won't let Eden catch me before the apocalypse. But why hasn't Harrison contacted me yet? Is he too busy and forgot? The next day, hearing that the phone at the KINT station was fixed, I rushed over there. Arriving, Cherry thought to herself, although it's small and old, it's quite convenient, right? Most importantly, the phone works. Wait for me, Harrison, Susanna. From afar, two guards watched her affectionately holding the phone, puzzled and whispering their assessments. Then Cherry quickly dialed the number. I have to call quickly. When the call connected, Susanna's voice rang out. Yes, Sinclair Villa, this is Susanna speaking. Cherry, moved to tears, recognized the familiar voice and said, Susanna, it's Cherry. Hearing this, Susanna was incredibly surprised and said urgently, oh, miss, are you all right? I wanted to call you so badly, but I didn't know how to contact you. Cherry worriedly asked, what's wrong? Is something the matter? Today's the day you're supposed to arrive. Susanna, crying, explained, it's just that the head maid is ill, so I might have to stay a bit longer. I'm so sorry, Mississippi. Hearing this, Cherry quickly reassured her, it's all right, it can't be helped. But you absolutely must come tomorrow. I can't live another day without you. Susanna agreed, replying, yes, I've already bought the train ticket. I should arrive tomorrow afternoon. Are you all right, miss? Are you feeling well? Have you been eating properly? Cherry was deeply touched by her concern and replied with a gentle smile, of course. What about you? Has anything happened back in the capital? Susanna said sadly, no, it's just that since you left, the villa has been so quiet. Cherry offered a comforting smile, but it's nothing, Susanna. It's always been like that. She thought to herself, Susanna probably doesn't know since she's only worked there a short time, but my parents are always busy with their work. Asterisk, business. And I'm always out and about, so the Sinclair Villa is almost always empty, and it'll probably stay that way. Asterisk aloud, she asked, oh, right? Where's Harrison? Susanna answered worriedly, he's not here at the moment, Mississippi. Hearing this, Cherry said, is that so? Didn't Harrison leave any message? I sent him a letter, but I haven't received a reply. Susanna asked, puzzled, really? That's strange. I haven't seen any letters from you, Mississippi. Speaking of which, I've heard that many mail carriers have suddenly gone missing recently. Cherry exclaimed in surprise, what? Missing mail carriers? What do you mean? Susanna explained, I read in the newspaper. Lately, many mail carriers have suddenly disappeared without a trace. Or worse, they've been murdered and their bodies left in gruesome states. The world is a scary place these days, so please be careful when you go out at night, Mississippi. Cherry responded thoughtfully, thank you for letting me know. You be careful too, Susanna. By the way, could you pass this information on to Harrison for me? On her way back, she looked up at the sky and thought, it must be the monster's doing. Asterisk, while I'm being leisurely like this, the world is slowly preparing for its destruction. That's right, whether Eden is here or not doesn't matter. I must survive on my own strength. Asterisk in his study. Eden sat reading a report, frowning in confusion. Strange occurrences in West Mall. He thought to himself, that's the place those two just mentioned. The report stated, around this time last year, There were reports of residents hearing someone's screams coming from an abandoned house in West Mall every night. Asterisk after the screams, there was a sound resembling the roar of a wild beast. The police received the reports and went to the scene, but they found no trace of any person or animal. There have been more than 10 such reports, and more than 10 residents living nearby have gone missing. But because no signs of foul play were found, the case was dropped and has only been passed around as a strange story. Asterisk. Eden looked at the jewel on the table and thought seriously, there's something similar to the incident at 61 Nodium Street, the brooch that the woman who saved Aurora dropped. Picking up the jewel and turning it over, he could see a crack in the bottom right corner. He pondered. Asterisk the back is engraved with the initial CS. It coincidentally matches Cherry Sinclair's name. And come to think of it, the eye color is very similar too. Huh, what am I even thinking? Asterisk. Eden found himself amused by his own speculation, thinking, who is Cherry Sinclair anyway? The Sinclair heiress, the one who graces the front page of every newspaper, the one who loves lavish parties, spends money like water, with a mountain of scandals, with an unpleasant personality, slow-witted and incompetent, she's considered incapable of leading. The Sinclair family, the type of person I despise the most. She can't be the benefactor who saved my sister, even if that benefactor disappeared mysteriously. Cherry Sinclair isn't the type to set foot in a remote and dangerous place like this. Furthermore, she's suspected of being involved in arms smuggling, so she clearly can't be the Benet factor. At this moment, he suddenly recalled what she said yesterday morning, but thinking about it now, that group only needed the Sinclair name. I'm often misunderstood because of my image. Eden wondered incredulously, am I also subconsciously judging her based on preconceived notions? A moment later, as he stepped out of the house, Eden heard people nearby gossiping. Oh, it's the girl who lives in that abandoned house. That's right, but he looked on curiously. What's going on? Looking into the distance, he saw Cherry walking towards them, carrying 2 mannequins on her shoulder. Eden thought to himself, puzzled, what's with the mannequins? Taking back his previous thought, he concluded, as expected, she's an eccentric woman. At this moment, Cherry noticed the 2 women and greeted them. Hello, are you all gathered here? Seeing her like this, one of the 2 women excitedly replied, hello, what are you planning to do with those mannequins? Cherry smiled brightly and said, oh, these? I'm planning to use them to practice clean decapitations. Hearing this, the 2 women's faces turned pale with fear, and they didn't dare to say anything. Eden, standing nearby, thought to himself, bewildered what? Seeing everyone's reaction, Cherry quickly explained, why are you all so surprised? I was just joking. There are too many sparrows in the garden, so I'm planning to use these to scare them away. Well then, excuse me. Eden watched her walk away, thinking to himself, with that demeanor, it's no wonder they call her a hothouse flower. This was also the villagers' assessment of Cherry. On her way back, Cherry cheerfully greeted passers-by, hello, and many replied, hello. After she left, the 2 women continued gossiping. That girl from the abandoned house is really strange, isn't she, right? Lately, I keep seeing her moving things into that abandoned house. At this moment, Eden approached them and asked, does she come down to the village often? The 2 women startled and turned to look at him. Oh, isn't it the young police officer who just arrived? You're even more handsome up close. Oh, stop talking about her. Pausing for a moment, the woman continued. Yesterday, she cleaned out the grocery store. Another woman chimed in. And today, she cleaned out the general store. The 2 women took turns speaking. She's buying everything like she's preparing for war. Living in that abandoned house. Who knows where she gets the money? Hearing this, Eden thought to himself, for Cherry Sinclair, that amount is nothing. It's just the villagers here who don't know. While he was thinking, the 2 women approached him with sparkling eyes and asked, but does the young police officer have his eye on her? Without waiting for Eden to reply, they continued, oh, she's really beautiful. Her face looks like she hasn't experienced any hardship in her life. Just like a noble lady. That's right, I've never seen anyone with such a dazzling appearance. Right, she's as pretty as candy. Eden, standing beside them, overheard this and recalled Cherry's face, thinking, why do they say she's like candy? Well, it's understandable. After their chat, the 2 women turned back to him cheerfully and said, that police officer is quite handsome, you know? You 2 are a really good match. Eden frowned and replied awkwardly, no, it's not like that. One of the women, with a knowing expression, said, anyone can see you're always hanging around that girl at the abandoned house. Eden quickly denied it. No, I'm not. Just then, the inspector's voice came from behind them. What are you all doing here? The woman turned and greeted him with a smile. Oh, Inspector, why are you only here now? The inspector replied with a smile. Some hunters suddenly showed up at the abandoned house, so I came to check it out. He then turned to Eden and asked, "Where are you going?" The two women chimed in, "Are you going to see the girl at the abandoned house?" Then whispered to each other, "He looks worried." The truth was, Eden intended to go there after hearing what the inspector said, but he didn't explain, simply replying, "I'm going on patrol." Meanwhile, at Cherry's mansion, repairs were underway. She thought to herself happily, the people Vanilla recommended are really quick and efficient. So, after the cleaning, I asked them to repair the fence. Although the price is a bit high, they're very discreet and will leave the village as soon as they're finished, so I don't have to worry about anything. Killing two birds with one stone. I asked the right people. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind her, "Excuse me, miss." It was an older man. He approached and asked, "You want to build the fence higher?" Cherry quickly replied, "Yes, build it higher than it is now and make the walls thicker too. Also, please attach iron torch holders to the outside of the wall." The man asked, puzzled, "Iron torch holders on the outside of the wall." The context explains that Cherry is doing this because monsters are afraid of fire. So, to keep them away from the fence, that method is best. At this point, she replied with a smile, "Yes. What about the other things I requested? How are they coming along?" The man said with a smile, "Oh, those? The materials haven't arrived yet. When the materials arrive, we'll install them, so don't worry." Looking at everything being renovated according to her wishes, she planned the main gate will be replaced with a large stone gate. Once locked, no one from the outside can open it. Of course, except for me with this extraordinary strength. The repairs and material preparations were going smoothly, but she hated her outfit. Cherry was wearing farmer's clothes to plant herbs. She thought to herself, all that's left is to plant the Elfino's herbs, and then I'm done. But due to some incident, my perfect plan has gone up in smoke. In Eden's office, Cherry slammed her hand on the table and shouted angrily, "That's why I said it wasn't. It's just herbs." Eden replied awkwardly, "Yes, yes." Then he continued, according to the fertilizer salesman, he said, "Oh my, she was carrying these herbs that looked like worms and crickets and kept asking all sorts of questions. Those definitely weren't herbs. They were drugs. Don't you know there are a lot of rumors about that young lady's abandoned house?" After finishing the story, he calmly continued, "That's what he said. And as per protocol, when someone reports something, I'm obligated to investigate." Hearing this, Cherry thought angrily, "Liar. You probably thought you had to investigate thoroughly this time, didn't you?" After a moment, she calmed down and frowned. "So, what do you want me to do?" Eden said coldly, "Please cooperate." Cherry sat down, puzzled, and asked, "Could you be more specific?" "How?" Eden explained, "An expert will come here. You'll meet with them for an appraisal. If you're innocent, you can go home." At this moment, Cherry looked out the door and thought, what is this? Looking at all the people gathered outside like this, the rumors must have spread everywhere. The crowd outside whispered amongst themselves, "Why was the young lady from the abandoned house arrested? I heard it was for growing drugs or something." Hearing this, Cherry thought angrily, "It's a misunderstanding. Am I crazy? Why would I grow drugs in this situation?" Just then, someone approached and said, "Excuse me, I'm here to consult." Cherry glanced at them, confused. What? They're already here? Who is this expert, anyway? Recognizing the newcomer, Cherry thought in a panic. Why is he here? The newcomer was Nakanel Rudbusser. He was the second male lead in Shattered Love. Thinking of this, she sighed inwardly. No wonder everything has been going suspiciously smoothly. Cherry recalled, Nakanel Rudbusser is the younger brother of the late Lady Harrison and the youngest uncle of the Rudbusser family, the one who invented anesthesia and changed the history of medicine. It's probably because, in the past, substances like cocaine were used as anesthetics and doctors had a certain level of understanding about drugs, so it makes sense that he's here. She speculated, in the novel, the removal of infected body parts to save a dying person was also described. He's also proficient in reproductive medicine and has saved both mother and child in difficult births. No, but why are people who should be in the capital gathered in this village? Is this the butterfly effect? While she was thinking, Eden was extremely bewildered and asked, "Are you sure it's a medicinal herb? Did you check carefully?" Seeing him ask this, Nock thought angrily, "Of course it is." He explained further, "Yes, it's a medicinal herb called Elfinos. It's normally very good for restoring energy. It's truly miraculous to see it here." Sitting beside them, Cherry overheard their conversation and thought, miraculous to see it here? Does he mean he's seen it somewhere else before? Meanwhile, outside, the two women from that morning started gossiping again that I heard that handsome doctor is incredibly famous, right? Seems like it. What? He's even more famous than that Mango Sinclair girl or whatever. Hearing this, Cherry thought angrily, "No, of course I'm more famous. What are you talking about? And who's Mango?" "It's Cherry." The two women, unaware of how loudly they were speaking, saw Nock turn to look at them and whispered in awe, oh my, they're looking at us." Oh my goodness, this is the first time in my life I've seen a nobleman. Hearing this, Cherry sighed even more helplessly. That super scary police officer walking towards you is the one with a higher, noble status. Seeing Eden approach and close the door, she thought, what's going on? Why is he closing the door? Is he finally showing his true colors? He heard them say it was a medicinal herb, didn't he? At this moment, Eden walked closer to her, bowed, and said sincerely, "Please forgive me, Miss Sinclair." Cherry, surprised, covered her mouth in disbelief, thinking, oh my, he's actually apologizing to me, just like that? What's with this guy who's always wanted to eat me alive? Seeing her silence, Eden awkwardly continued, knock. No, according to the expert, it's an herb, not a drug. I apologize. Looking at him like that, Cherry chuckled inwardly. But outwardly, she said coldly, well, although I'm someone who's often misunderstood, this time I'm truly quite upset. In fact, you didn't properly check the information before dragging me here, did you? Hearing this, Eden took off his hat and bowed deeper, saying, "Please forgive my rudeness, Miss Sinclair. I misunderstood you, Cherry." Cherry thought happily to herself, What's this? This is my chance." Then she softly said, "If you're truly sorry, then help me out." Eden looked at her questioningly and asked, "Yes, is there anything I can help you with?" Hearing his words, her smile brightened. At the garden in her villa, his men were helping her work. At this point, Eden finally asked, "The help you requested is farm work?" Cherry laughed and replied, "You think it's just farm work? I'm currently renovating my house, and I'm extremely short-handed. But I was suddenly taken away by you, Mr. Eden, so all the work is piled up. I'm in trouble now. If you don't help me, I'll report to the press that Eden Auken Lancaster is someone who arrests innocent civilians without any evidence." Hearing this, Eden tried to argue, "If you say you're an innocent civilian, then..." Not letting him finish, she quickly interrupted, "In short, you'll help me, right?" Eden scratched his head awkwardly and replied, "Well, it was my fault, so as a police officer, I'll take responsibility." Cherry smiled brightly at him, satisfied, and said, "All right, let's go, Mr. Handyman." Pausing for a moment, Eden asked her, "Doesn't a handsome handyman get extra pay?" Cherry laughed loudly and replied, "Where did that nonsense come from?" Eden continued, "It seems that nonsense has been effective, so please reconsider." At this moment, Knock's laughter rang out from behind them. "It's been a while since I've been treated like air. I suddenly feel sad." Cherry turned around, embarrassed, thinking to herself, "I completely forgot. He's been following me from the police station, hasn't he?" I was so focused on talking to Eden that I completely forgot about the other person. I was only thinking about getting a happy house quickly to assign tasks. Seeing her silence, Knock continued, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Sinclair." Seeing him extend his hand, she politely placed her hand in his. Cherry said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Rudbusser, but please call me by my first name while we're here." Hearing this, he smiled cheerfully and bowed slightly, replying, "Although I'm curious about many things, it would be rude to ask a lady too many questions." "I understand, Miss Cherry." Seeing his gentle manner, she suddenly remembered yesterday when she greeted Eden. Her hand was shaken so hard it felt like it would fall off. She thought to herself, "That's right, this is how a greeting should be." After the greeting, Knox said, "I have something I'd like to ask you, Miss Cherry. Could you spare me a moment?" She didn't answer immediately, but looked up at Eden. Then she thought to herself, since things have turned out like this, why not try inviting Knock to do business together? Although first, I have to keep my mouth shut. Thinking of this, she cheerfully said, "All right, please follow me." Knock politely replied, "Thank you, Miss Cherry." Cherry hurriedly added, "Let's go. I have a mountain of work to do." Watching her back as she walked away, Knock's gaze grew darker. "When we get there, please chop the wood first and then clean the yard. Oh, and also," Cherry muttered, counting on her fingers. Eden was stunned and asked, "What else are you going to make me do?" Cherry Sinclair, a childish heiress. Although there were rumors that she was a gossip, he didn't believe them. That day, Eden vividly remembered the scene. The person he saw at the mansion. It was clearly Cherry Sinclair. The first time he encountered Cherry Sinclair was a few weeks ago. It was the period when the Westmore urban legends started occurring more frequently. A person brought a wooden box towards Knock and asked, "Could you tell me what this is, doctor?" He muttered as he examined it, then hypothesized to Dr. Knock. "These days, things like this are often found at crime scenes, so I don't know if it's drugs or not. Because suspicious incidents keep happening where that plant is found, I've put on the investigation list. But I need to know what kind of plant it is." Knock nodded and gave his answer. "First of all, this isn't a drug, it's just an herb." But in his head, he murmured the other person's words. An ordinary plant related to a strange case? How interesting. It would be a shame to ignore it. Knock then proposed a bold idea to the other person, his heart filled with excitement. "I heard that the last transaction address for this plant was 61 Nodium. I should try going there. In a corner of the village, a stranger stood watching from afar. Nothing particularly strange about him. If anything, it was just that there were a lot of visitors at this hour. A lady slowly opened the door and entered the mansion. Although that might be suspicious, a man suddenly darted out. Nock observed, unable to hide his surprise that what's this? It looks like he's trying to escape from somewhere. What? A scream echoed fiercely. What is that thing? Nock couldn't believe his eyes. That a monster, he muttered. Although he had been thinking for days, he could only come to one conclusion, that the Elfino's herb, the suspicious incidents, and the sudden appearance of the monster were all connected, and Eden's request for cooperation had reached Nock. Moreover, Cherry was the one who had slashed the monster with an axe. It was truly interesting. Suspicious, she glanced back. Nock appeared, smiling falsely at her, making her extremely wary. Unlike Eden, there was something about Nock that sent chills down her spine. It was also different from Eden chasing her. Cherry sighed. He was originally a good person. Since he's a police officer, it's unavoidable that he would chase me. Compared to that, with Nock, she continued to be wary. I still have to be more careful. I have to be cautious with him. Nock appeared in the abandoned mansion for the first time. The rotting ceiling, everything broken and old, gave him quite a shock. Surprised that is this really the mansion where Miss Cherry lives? Why? She tilted her head innocently and asked back. Does Dr. Ridbusser also think I can't live in a place like this? Nock waved his hand in explanation. Not at all. I'm the type of person who only believes what I see. Cherry furrowed her brows, muttering a retort. Only believe what you see? You've never even met me before. Nock smiled faintly. Compared to that, Miss Cherry, what are you planning to do in this place? He leaned closer to her, probing her intentions. What are you planning to do by growing Elfino's herbs? It was as if Nock was interrogating her. Cherry nonchalantly waved her hand and backed away. If you want to leave this mansion safely, don't ask anything, and it's best you keep quiet, she whispered to Nock. Huh? The man was astonished by what Cherry said. That I'm telling you, I'm not joking. She pointed directly at his face and said fiercely, You've been saying creepy things, so I have to make you shut up. Nock chuckled dismissively. Please don't worry. I'm not a gossiper. He bowed respectfully. I won't say anything at all. Instead, he offered a different condition. Tell me the real reason why you're here and what you did have to hide in this place. I'll keep it a secret from Lancaster. Dr. Nock spoke as if coaxing a 10-year-old child. This will be a secret between just the two of us, Miss Cherry. Is that all right with you? It's discreet, so I prefer it that way. That guy. Cherry's expression showed clear disdain. Could he be a pervert? She wanted to find a reason to refuse, but the doctor replied with a smile. I've had enough. Enough of what? She frowned, annoyed that you're joking, right? You're so strange. That's right. Nock nodded in confirmation that I've had enough. So what's the real reason? Tell me. That guy. She muttered curses under her breath. So persistent. It's a personal hobby. She turned and walked away, ignoring him. Because my life is all about money. I wanted to find a different kind of fun. She wondered if that reason was convincing enough. Even though it was just made up, it sounded more reasonable than she thought. Uffed. Nock burst out laughing. Really? He tried to stifle his laughter. Every time, Miss Cherry, you give me answers beyond my imagination. Cherry asked back. Isn't it normal for nobles to dislike flaunting their wealth? Nock gently wiped the moisture from his eyes and shook his head. I'm different. Instead of being fake, I prefer uniqueness. I really hate things that lack appeal. You too. A man at the door entered. What are you talking about so cheerfully? Eden finally appeared, looking angrily inside. Oh no, Cherry was caught off guard. I forgot about him again. This is driving me crazy. Why do you guys keep bothering me? The two men met each other's gaze, sparks flying, and the most awkward person caught in the middle was Cherry. Nock spoke up first. Miss Cherry, I'm afraid we can't continue our conversation with this person here. Should we move somewhere else? Eden flew into a rage, bursting out. You two are being suspiciously alone together. Are you close to Cherry? If not, why are you like this? Isn't it suspicious? About that, if you say so. Cherry interjected, then I'm not close to Eden either. According to Eden, aren't I the strange one for letting a man I'm not close to stay in my house? I'm a police officer. Eden defended himself. Nock also chimed in, personally, I hate Lancaster, so I wish you'd kick this guy out. I don't like you either, damn it. So I'm not leaving. Cherry sighed, exasperated that I forgot. These two, their relationship was even worse in the original story. They were classmates. As the youngest son of a noble family, and Eden being a nobleman among noblemen, everyone knew him. So every time they met, they would argue. Eden couldn't stand such provocations, so they always ended up fighting. That's how it is. At this point, she couldn't contain her annoyance. Eden, Cherry said, directly dismissing him. Could you go somewhere else for a moment so I can talk to Ridbusser privately? Eden was stunned, as if struck by lightning. But Cherry, beside them, Nock was grinning, enjoying Eden being scolded. That's enough. Don't make a fuss in my house, understand? I'll be out in a moment after I talk to him. You keep watch outside. Nock smirked at Eden, as if certain of his victory. I understand. Eden's mood plummeted. That I'll wait outside. Suddenly feeling guilty, Cherry watched him leave, also feeling unhappy. Nock smiled and bowed his head. Thank you for your concern. Mississippi, shall we sit and talk for a bit? The two sat facing each other at the tea table. Miss Cherry, Nock got straight to the point. How much do you know about the alpinus herb? Why are you asking me about that? Cherry became wary, her hands tightening around her teacup. I don't really know much about it. Cherry offered a random excuse. I just happened to pick some up on the road. Nock leaned forward, staring at her like a human lie detector. Damn, she fumed, her face darkening. Why did I let Eden go? Asterisk, this is because of the suspicion. If he were here, it would be fine. Asterisk. Nock also noticed Cherry's simmering anger. She raised a fist, contemplating. Asterisk indeed, resorting to fists. Eden is a police officer, so he's a bit tricky. But Nock isn't. Asterisk, he said softly. There's no need to be so tense. He leaned forward, looking at her. Lancaster may not know, but I have a good feeling about you. Cherry breathed a sigh of relief. Asterisk, so that's what he meant by strange. That's having a good feeling about me? There's no reason for that. Asterisk Nock made a straightforward offer. I want to help you. Although I don't know what help I can offer, I think protecting you will be interesting. I don't need your help. Cherry flatly refused his offer. You probably will, Nock insisted, furrowing his brow. Didn't you intend to cultivate the alpinus herb in the garden I saw earlier? The villagers all passed by, gazing at the mansion's vast garden in awe, their minds racing with thoughts. Cherry also had to see Nock in a new light. Asterisk perceptive, indeed. How'd he know? Asterisk. That's right, she admitted with a nod, that I plan to fertilize and cultivate the plants for 2 weeks. His eyes filled with a multitude of emotions. Miss Cherry, he said, cradling his teacup, the alpinus herb isn't a plant that can be cared for in that way. She frowned and asked why. Isn't it a medicinal herb? Is there something wrong with it? Nock explained easily. Unlike regular plants, the alpinus herb has a rather unique cultivation method. Unique? How so? She listened attentively. Nock only said a few words. It eats insects to grow. Cherry was astonished. The guidelines didn't mention that. Nock added, to be precise, the roots absorb nutrients from insects and spiders. They're like things like centipedes and spiders. She trembled and asked, So then, the herb's roots eat multi-legged insects. She was stunned, tears rolling down her cheeks. And I thought I eat that herb. I can just imagine it. She felt disgusted and scared. Cherry's face. Nock once again covered his face, laughing heartily. Why is he laughing like that? She was about to explode with angered SO. How do you grow it? Nock answered her, just sow the seeds along with dead bugs in flat soil and water them. I heard that if you periodically bury dead bugs, the herb will thrive. Cherry's heart sank further with each word. Why is this happening to me? She slumped dejectedly onto the table. Even though I need it, I don't want to. Honestly, she mumbled, thinking back and forth. Are you all right? Nock gently inquired, seeing her mood plummet. Oh, you need my help. How can you help? Cherry lay listlessly on the tea table. If Cherry allows, I will help cultivate the alpinus herb. I could do that too, it's just that I hate bugs, that's all. Then I'll catch the bugs and grow the herbs too. Nock made further advantageous offers that if you want, I can also teach you some basic medicinal knowledge. Her eyes lit up like crystal lamps. This is too good an offer to refuse. I'd love to, of course, but this person is strangely enthusiastic. She cautiously asked again, although I asked you before, why do you want to help me? Nock shrugged in response. Because I think it will be interesting. I like anything as long as it's interesting. Speechless, she sighed. There really isn't any special reason. But I don't need to refuse, do I? All right, Cherry immediately agreed. Then please help me. I trust in your outstanding skills. And besides, it will definitely be interesting. Nock's cheeks suddenly flushed pink. Leave it to me. As I said, I'm very proficient. All right, I have to be determined. She smiled brightly to herself that I will reap the sweet rewards. The conversation came to an end. Cherry stepped out of the room to make tea first. I wondered what happened. Senza has already taken care of it. Come to think of it, where did Eden go? Eden was standing over there, handsomely chopping wood. She was captivated by this sight. Are you done? He suddenly turned around, making Cherry flustered. What were you talking about that was so amusing? The laughter never stopped. Eden grumbled, inquiring. She still covered her mouth with her hand. That he really is my type, isn't he? Did you hear my voice? Cherry laughed cheerfully, as happy as a flower. Miss Cherry. He asked again, puzzled. Look, you heard me talking, right? Cherry broke out in a sweat. She closed her eyes, trying to adjust her smile, so it was just right. What are you doing? Eden casually pointed to the pile of firewood behind him, the product of his recent labor. That I looked around outside, and it seemed like you were planning to chop wood, so I did it. Cherry applauded Eden's initiative. Oh, you did a good job. I was planning to do it today, but I got pulled away. Eden looked away, pretending he'd only mentioned it casually, though he'd actually eavesdropped by the window. What had she talked about with Knock? Their laughter had carried all the way outside. Cherry smiled and replied, Oh, it was nothing. He just said he'd help me grow herbs. She started walking towards the herb garden. Let's see how things are coming along. Cherry suddenly said, He'll be coming here starting tomorrow. Her words made Eden visibly react. He seriously asked what? Cherry was still admiring the wood Eden had just chopped, which he held in his hands. Wow, you're so skilled. She then heard Eden ask, So, I need to come out tomorrow too, right? Cherry finally focused on their conversation and turned her head abruptly. Mr. Eden was a little embarrassed to bring it up. Didn't you, Cherry, suggest I become a worker? Cherry was surprised by his sudden question. His expression made her heart flutter. Yes, you can leave today. Can I help you chop wood tomorrow? Eden didn't hesitate to reply, of course. See you tomorrow. Early the next morning, as the first rays of sunlight shone upon Cherry's flower and herb garden, inside the house, Cherry had patiently cleaned everything. Really, Cherry leaned wearily against the broom and sighed. I've been cleaning forever, and it's still not done. The mansion was so big that even with hired help, it was still a huge task. Actually, I remembered I had something urgent to do, so I prioritized that. I paid extra to have it done as quickly as possible, so it should be finished soon. By the way, Cherry looked out the window, and immediately, Eden's perfect figure and Knock's handsome, focused expression caught her eye. This was truly a wonderful sight. Just that alone was enough to dispel all her fatigue. Money and people, you only know their value when you use them. She threw open the window and called out, How's the work coming along? Eden looked up and replied, Almost done. Where should I move this? Cherry smiled. Some should be brought inside, and some of it will stay outside. Eden crossed his arms, looking at the pile of wood and carefully calculating. Right, so from now on, I have to arrange these and bring them inside. However, he still seemed a little dissatisfied as he turned to ask Cherry, Just how much firewood do you want? At this rate, you could burn down the whole village. Cherry burst out laughing. Hey, that's not it. Why are you exaggerating so much? Eden's eyes widened. He seriously pointed at the mountain of wood behind him to prove his point. Hearing her awkward laughter, he felt even more annoyed. Seeing his expression, Cherry quickly changed the subject. Oh dear, I'm so forgetful. I have so much to do. I shouldn't be standing around here like this. She slipped away as quickly as possible, not forgetting to encourage Eden. Good work, Mr. Eden. The person downstairs knew she was skipping out on her work, but didn't stop her, even though he was more than capable of doing so. Cherry continued cleaning inside the mansion, thinking as she worked. It seemed like he was trying to find something while working here, but how could he? There's no proof. Before the apocalypse arrives, might as well take advantage of the time she has. She was still lost in her smugness when suddenly a door to a room right in front of her slowly creaked open. Cherry muttered, Isn't that the children's storage room? I clearly just cleaned it and closed the door a moment ago. Cherry didn't dare let her mind wander for fear of scaring herself, so she quickly pushed the door open and stepped inside. Her eyes narrowed, and her pretty mouth twisted in a grimace. Unable to take another step, Cherry spun around. Could it have just been her imagination? However, the moment she turned around, a chilling sensation crept up her spine, making her jump. Cherry grabbed the broken broom handle she'd been using and held it up defensively. What? What is it? What was that? She saw a small wooden chair rocking gently from the breeze blowing in from outside. Cherry approached it for a closer look. Was it just the wind? I thought the genre was changing again. Anyway, while cleaning, I realized that it seems like quite a few people used to live in this mansion. Moreover, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, even though there's dust. Just look at this chair. She touched the chair and noticed something strange. On the armrest of the small wooden chair, a name was carved. Cherry murmured to herself, Segrave. Outside in the courtyard, flowers bloomed under the bright sunlight. Cherry stepped outside to enjoy the breeze while pondering what had just happened. Come to think of it, the Segrave family had a protector image, so their name often appeared on children's items. Suddenly, someone called her name Miss Cherry. The person being called quickly looked towards the source of the voice and saw Eden waiting for her. Cherry asked him, Mr. Eden, are you done chopping wood? Eden replied, Yes, almost finished, but what's that? Cherry pointed to the small wooden crate she was carrying on her shoulder and explained to Eden, "Oh, these are things from the children's room on the second floor." Eden awkwardly watched Cherry as she struggled with the load, seemingly wanting to ask her something. Finally, Eden resolved to ask Cherry, "What are you actually doing in this mansion? I'm getting more and more curious." Cherry, displeased, put her hands on her hips and pouted that I told you. It's a private residence. She didn't notice the person approaching behind her and bumped into them, causing a large wooden beam to fall. Cherry, still talking animatedly, continued, "Mine? I wasn't aware of the existence of that. Danger." She was still speaking when Eden pulled her arm towards him, shouting a warning, "Miss Cherry." He reacted quickly and pulled her into his arms, preventing her from falling to the ground. Cherry was incredibly surprised. What was that? The other workers were just as startled as Eden had been. Safe in Eden's embrace, Cherry sighed in relief. That was close. I thought I just lost 10 years off my life. Isn't all the material here damaged? So, only after she finished speaking did Cherry notice their current situation. Whoa, oh my goodness, what do we do now? Cherry couldn't see Eden's furious expression because he was still holding her, but the icy tone in his voice was impossible to miss. These guys, Eden looked down at Cherry, checking to see if she was hurt. He gritted his teeth and hissed at the gate builders. "She almost got hurt, and you should be more careful carrying dangerous things like that. Where did you learn to blame the victim?" The scolded builders were stunned. They looked at Eden, whose actions seemed to threaten their very existence, and thought, "What's this? I've never seen him this angry. Is he putting on an act?" Eden helped Cherry up. She looked directly into his eyes and sincerely said, "Thank you." Eden gently told her, "It's a good thing you weren't hurt." Eden's words thoroughly fueled Cherry's possessiveness. She thought, I really want to hire him. He's good looking, and having him around long term would be very convenient. Too bad." Eden left her, saying, "Well then, I'll go finish chopping the rest of the firewood." Cherry smiled at him. "Okay." She hadn't even finished thanking him when someone interrupted. "Aha, Lancaster, what are you doing?" "Playing lumberjack." It was Knock. His sudden appearance, coupled with his mockery of Eden, further annoyed Cherry. Ugh, so annoying. Now I understand why Eden can't stand this guy. Seeing the heavy axe swing down, she knew Eden was furious. Cherry sighed. "Right." This time, Eden spoke up, seriously telling Knock, "I told you not to spout nonsense in front of me." Yet Knock had the audacity to reply, "I came here because Miss Cherry invited me. Why are you talking to me like this?" He looked at Cherry pleadingly. "Isn't that right, Miss Cherry?" The person in question gave him an unfriendly look. "Yes, but have you caught any insects yet?" Her question made the atmosphere between them awkward. Cherry quickly and bluntly said, "Honestly, if you're not going to work, then get out of here." Knock told her, "As a gentleman, how could I do such a thing? I'll continue catching insects now." Knock quickly slipped away, leaving Cherry still sitting on the ground. She slowly stood up and sighed heavily. "Even though I'm making this so-called secret hideout, why isn't there a single peaceful day?" Eden's voice interrupted Cherry's thoughts. She looked at him and listened carefully to his words of caution. "Please be careful from now on." Eden picked up the axe from earlier. He ran his fingers along its surface. "Because there's construction going on here, accidents can happen at any time." Cherry put her hands on her hips, thinking, "What's this?" Before, he looked at me like prey, and now he's being all kind. Eden continued to question Cherry. "Why aren't you saying anything? I guess no one told you about this, huh?" Cherry, surprisingly competitive, retorted, "What? Of course, someone told me. Harrison and Susanna care about me a lot." She suddenly thought, speaking of which, I really miss them. Are they doing okay? At the Sinclair Villa, Harrison was still pondering something, but he seemed a little tired today. He closed his eyes tightly, suddenly feeling very sleepy. It must have been because he'd overexerted himself handling Miss Cherry's urgent request. This letter from Miss Cherry. He'd gone to great lengths to hide the dead mailman before the police investigation. Now, let's see what this troublesome young lady wanted this time. The contents of the letter, placed neatly on the table, were just a few lines. "Harrison, when I said I wanted weapons, you weren't actually preparing things like guns and ammunition, were you?" Harrison felt quite disgruntled by her question. "Since someone wanted to shoot someone dead, I thought you'd like them, so I prepared them." In the letter, Cherry told him that if that were the case, he shouldn't hire anyone, but bring them himself. Eden Lancaster is here. I hear he's been transferred to the Brunel Police Department. Harrison thought to himself, if it's Eden, then he must be Bennon's mad dog. Speaking of which, I think he's been investigating me lately. Cherry had truly solidified his suspicions. It seemed he knew something about the arms smuggling and suspected they were behind it. Harrison calculated, could he think Miss Cherry is behind it, which is why he came to Brunel? If he investigates me, it's fine. But if he targets Miss Cherry, that's a different story. Miss Cherry is the one I have to protect, the one who is important to me. The first time I met Miss Cherry was when I was about 15 years old at the Royal Academy. The headmaster led me to meet someone. Harrison, you must come and greet them. I understood clearly then that because I had no money, I couldn't enroll in the Royal Academy. The headmaster told me, "This is Mr. Sinclair Booth, who will be sponsoring you." I recall the Sinclairs had decided to sponsor me. Immediately afterward, they greeted Harrison warmly. He was also a well-mannered boy. He bowed his head and said clearly to Cherry's family, "Hello, I'm Harrison. Thank you for helping me. I will never forget this kindness." However, one of them told him, "As family, you shouldn't say such things. You're Cherry's older brother now." Harrison's life changed completely that day. That was also the day I first met Miss Cherry, and Miss Cherry was... Harrison couldn't believe Cherry accepted him as her brother. He was so important. Harrison knew family. From the time I was born until now, this was the first time I'd heard that word. It was just a casual remark from a child whose parents were always busy with their business. But I made a promise to myself with just those words. Cherry is my sister. A sister more precious than blood. However, that sense of security was fleeting. Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair suddenly had an accident and passed away. Cherry was left alone. She indulged in distractions to forget her pain, and as her brother, I needed to protect her at all costs. All I could do was stay by Cherry's side, hoping she wouldn't get into any danger. Even so, I still loved seeing her cheerful demeanor. Lately, something about Cherry has been changing. A person with a goal in life, with bright, motivated eyes, has been making requests she never made before, up to this point. And as her brother, I can't disagree. Harrison loosened the watch on his wrist. He muttered, "If Miss Cherry wants me to bring weapons, I'll have to pay more attention to security." Has Rose arrived yet? The morning newspaper was being turned page by page. "Your Highness," elder son, standing behind him, called out respectfully, but Theodore continued to calmly sip his tea and read the paper, ignoring the words directed at him. "Your Highness," elder son repeated, annoyed, "His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince." He grumbled to himself, irritated. He heard me. Why is he pretending not to? "Your Highness," Theodore finally looked up and said coldly, "Be brief, elder son. I'm listening." "Ah, yes." Elder son, stiff as a board, hurriedly adjusted his posture and announced, "I've come to report on the instructions you gave me." Theodore Graydon, you are the prince, and also the crown prince of the Graydon Kingdom, a man supported by many, with outstanding looks and extraordinary abilities. You are the one I wholeheartedly serve. Elder son was completely enamored with him. Theodore took a sip of tea and asked, "So, have you found any trace of those two?" Elder son immediately reported the information he had gathered. Sir Eden and Sir Knock are currently in a village called Brunel. Hearing this, Theodore put down the newspaper and asked Brunel. "Yes," elder son confirmed. "Sir Eden recently accepted a position at the Brunel police station. And Sir Knock went there at Sir Eden's request to carry out official duties." "It seems there's more to it than that," Theodore said suspiciously. He ordered his aide to investigate further. Elder son, investigate further. "There's likely another reason." "Yes." Elder son nodded in obedience, then ventured to ask, "But why are you so concerned about those two, Your Highness?" His curiosity grew as he spoke. Sir Knock is a man of Duke Rudolph Usser, a close associate of Prince Loin. And Sir Eden is Lancaster's man, isn't he? Theodore's expression hardened. "Didn't you recently suspect Duke Cassay, one of Lancaster's right-hand men, regarding the epidemic because it was resolved too quickly? Not long ago, you were still suspicious of him." Elder son grew more confused at, you mean that Theodore stroked the newspaper. He rested one hand on his chin, the other lightly touching the rough surface of the newspaper as he replied. "Although I am the crown prince, with Prince Loin's current power, I need more allies, even if it's just one. And from my observation, Eden isn't like Duke Lancaster. He's a very moral and upright man. As for his personality, Theodore had once had to stop him from brawl. 'Let me see, you bastard. I'll kill you today.' Oh dear, so barbaric, impossible to befriend. But isn't personality important?" Elder son paled, not understanding what his highness was really thinking. Isn't that why his nickname is Benin's Mad Dog? Anyway, Theodore concluded, investigate thoroughly why those two went to Brunel. "Yes," elder son obeyed. Alone in the room, Theodore sipped his tea, lost in thought. Those two can't possibly live peacefully in one place without a good reason. There must be something. The surrounding people gasped in astonishment that, oh my, that young lady is so strong. The sound of carriage wheels creaked as they slowly rolled along the ground. The weather was beautiful today. Cherry, dressed beautifully, went outside with a cart beside her. Because of her body's fame, Cherry felt proud and satisfied to be noticed by many. Suddenly, she was startled. Well, she's not to be trifled with either, she muttered, frowning as she looked over. She hadn't been in the village long, but it was already crowded. Women and older ladies were surrounding a strikingly handsome man. Well, he's a handsome and approachable doctor, so it's no wonder he's popular. Knox suddenly looked up, and their eyes in the original story, Cherry muttered, recalling the plot. He was also a compelling supporting character, not unlike Theodore. He's definitely handsome, but there's something a little. She kept glancing at the man, trying to pinpoint the oddity, but a loud voice broke the atmosphere. Miss Cherry, what is this? Eden, shining brightly, appeared before her. Being the object of his attention, her satisfaction soared. These are weapons, not guns, of course. I thought I'd need them for self-defense if I'm living alone. She pointed to the cart behind her. Doesn't seem like the amount someone would use alone, does it? Indeed. You're wondering what I'm going to use them for, aren't you? Cherry, seeing right through him, decided to make a quick escape. I'll be going now. You've worked hard. She glanced back at him, muttering to herself, all right, I'm off. Goodbye. Wait. Eden quickly pulled her back. There nothing to do with the mansion today. Cherry furrowed her brow in confusion. Huh? Like firewood, for instance? She frowned, not understanding what he wanted. Eden chopped enough firewood for 2 years yesterday. Eden continued to beat around the bush. Then I'll help with something else. Hey, Eden, I understand why. She stopped abruptly. What are you two talking about? Knox stepped in. May I join you? Cherry mumbled. I knew someone would come. So, about the work? She ignored Eden, who was standing dumbfounded, and turned to speak to Knock. He smiled and replied, everyone is healthy, so I finished early, and handed her a bouquet of fresh flowers. Why don't you put the weapon away? I'm just talking to her. Knox seemed slightly worried seeing Eden holding a gun. Cherry was beyond startled. When did Eden pull that out? She tried to defuse the tension. She's free to talk to whoever she wants. Here we go again, another argument. This familiar scenario. She closed her eyes briefly, easily predicting what would happen next. Looking at the two men glaring at each other, she muttered, I need to continue setting up the hideout. They followed close behind, Knox still smiling, Eden with a cold expression. Halfway down the road, Eden started yelling at Knock, and Cherry finally lost her patience. As the two continued their heated exchange behind her, she snapped, I don't know what your scheme is, but I want you to leave if you don't want to get slapped. Knock retorted, you have a nasty mouth. Anyone would think you're a street thug, not a police officer. Don't bother, just get out of here, Eden said, dismissing him. Cherry couldn't contain her frustration any longer. Didn't you hear him? Knox said haughtily, I'm here because Miss Cherry asked me to come. She glanced back at the two who had been bickering the entire way. I'm seriously going to throw both of you out. She turned around angrily, flipping a page in her notebook. If you two don't shut up, I'll leave you both behind. Honestly, I have so much to do, and I can't even focus. Miss, a voice suddenly interrupted, breaking the tension. This tension, Cherry turned around, searching. Could it be? She joyfully abandoned her previous anger. This voice, Susanna. Seeing her, Cherry burst into tears, 2 streams flowing down her face, but she's finally here. My angel has come to save me. Seeing Susanna's figure, Cherry ran quickly and hugged her tightly. It must have been hard getting here, she asked gently. Susanna shook her head, replying, It's all right, Mississippi. It was just a bit surprising because this place is a little remote. She continued, a little embarrassed. Anyway, this is the mansion where I'll be staying with Miss, so I need to get used to it. But Susanna noticed unfamiliar faces in the distance looking their way. She asked softly, Miss, who are those people? Cherry, not paying them any mind, just clung to her. Let's start unpacking. She stared intently at the 2 men who were awkwardly looking around. They don't seem quite right, coming in and out as if they own the place without being called. Aren't they supposed to be workers? Susanna stopped paying attention to the 2 men and spoke excitedly to Cherry. So, can I go inside and unpack? Cherry nodded enthusiastically, showing her excitement. That I'll show you around the mansion. Miss Cherry, both men said in unison, seeing that she had forgotten them and was about to leave. What do we need to do? Cherry, not bothering to pay much attention, gave them some trivial tasks. Eden, could you help fix the fence? Judith, could you help me with the herbs? Then she dashed off. I have to go hang out with Susanna, so I'll excuse myself. Yes, the 2 men replied, immediately dejected. Inside the mansion, every corner was magnificent. Susanna was speechless, her eyes sparkling as she looked around. Miss, you're really amazing. You even have one of these. She had another thought about Cherry. Cherry looked confused. Susanna had been stunned upon arrival. The mansion's exterior had also surprised her. Actually, when I first arrived, I found this place so gloomy that I wondered if it was the right place. Hearing this, Cherry was at a loss for words, unsure how to explain. Actually, I didn't have time to pay attention to the outside appearance back then, but the inside is completely different. The more Susanna explored, the more amazed she became. And someone took such good care of my room too. Truly, Miss is the best. Cherry laughed brightly. Oh ho ho. It's no one else. This is the room Susanna will be using, so I had to pay attention to it. Susanna was nearly moved to tears, miss. But then she noticed something strange outside. But she noticed a strange occurrence over there. A conflict was unfolding outside the gate. Susanna pointed at the two men arguing. What is going on? And should we stop them? Cherry tilted her head, puzzled. They're fighting again? Are those guys really the male leads in a romance novel? But she was too tired to care. Leave them be. She only explained the first part, I just built that gazebo because I thought the view here was beautiful. Oh, I see. Susanna breathed a sigh of relief. Walking around the mansion, I thought maybe Miss was preparing for war or something. Cherry laughed dismissively. At war? In these peaceful times. But deep down, a warning bell rang in her mind. Asterisk, you're quite perceptive. Asterisk, oh right, Mississippi. Susanna hurried over. Mr. Harrison asked me to inquire if you could call him. Is that so? Cherry nodded in agreement. Now that you mention it, I should go too. She instructed Susanna to stay at the mansion, that I'll go to the police station for a bit. You can rest and wait here. Yes. Susanna stood behind, waving goodbye. Be careful, Mississippi. Cherry felt her blood pressure rising. With every step she took, Eden stayed right behind her. She furrowed her brow and snapped. Hey, why are you following me? And all you say is no. Eden's sudden appearance earlier had startled her, causing her to cry out in fright. Eden reminded her, going to the police station? I'll go with you. The phone at the police station isn't something just anyone can borrow. But she didn't believe him for a second. I borrowed it often in Benton. Eden gave her an icy stare, sending a shiver down her spine. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Eden sighed and began to explain. That's because you were Cherry Sinclair. Cherry nodded at this new information. Oh, I see. I didn't know that. She countered, but I'm still Cherry Sinclair. Yes, but Eden struggled to explain. Is something the matter, Mr. Eden? A friendly inspector appeared. Unsure of the situation, Cherry hid behind Eden. Inspector, this person wants to borrow the phone at the police station. Oh, the inspector chuckled. It's all right. The villagers borrow the phone here from time to time. Eden covered his face, glancing at Cherry, who wore a delighted expression. Oh, I can use it, right? She asked him again. He nodded. Since the inspector has given permission, go ahead. But technically, it's not allowed, Miss Cherry. But she had already run off. It's so hard to just use a phone once. This is Harrison Howard. After a few rings, the other side picked up. Cherry exclaimed happily, Harrison, you said a call back. Susanna has arrived too, so when are you coming? Miss Cherry, the other person chuckled softly. I've been delayed taking care of the matters you mentioned. I've rescheduled. I'll arrive in 4 days. 4 days? She cried out in surprise. The man chuckled, urging her patience. Please wait a little longer. I'm also coming to inspect the mansion's interior that you worked on yourself. Honestly, inspect? I'm not a child. But Cherry was still secretly delighted. However, Miss, regarding the 1 billion gold loan, I'll hear more about it directly when I arrive. She suddenly became flustered and nodded. All right. And about the person you mentioned, it's really difficult for me to handle from my side, Harrison confessed. Dealing with that person will be very dangerous. Cherry frowned. Could it be? You mean asking about bringing Eden back to the capital, right? That's right, she nodded. Lancaster isn't someone easy to deal with. I thought so. I anticipated this. Eden, waiting outside, had heard everything. Yes, Harrison, you be careful too. It was unclear what the other person said, but Cherry immediately denied everything. Huh? I don't know. The only person looking for me is Susanna. You too? Harrison, remember to eat well. She finally hung up the phone. A small smile played on her lips as she murmured to herself. Now, as long as Harrison arrives in Brunel safely, everything will be all right. What a relief. As soon as she stepped outside, Eden blocked her path. IS lawyer Howard going down to Brunel. She furrowed her brow and retorted, Why are you asking that, Eden? He mumbled in reply, I'm curious why he's going. Is that a problem? She reached out and opened the wooden door. Before leaving, she turned back and calmly refused. Yes, it is. Could you please stop taking such unnecessary interest in my family? And it's not polite to ask about a lady's private life. He lightly touched his police cap, looking towards her and muttering, I made another mistake. But Aurora's family, they'll be all right, won't they? Meanwhile, Aurora was fuming, her voice echoing throughout the mansion. Eden's such an idiot. He said he'd find out about my benefactor, but it's been so long. She raged. How can it be no news at all? It's so frustrating. Aurora's eyes welled up with tears. I want to thank that wonderful woman as soon as possible. A maid standing nearby informed Aurora, Miss, the young master has been assigned to Brunel, so it seems he'll be coming home late. She immediately sat up. Brunel? Where is that? The maid thought for a moment, then recounted, I hear it's a village without even a train station, Mississippi. Aurora found this intriguing, a small village. He's so unpredictable as always. She smiled faintly, a perfect plan forming in her mind. Well then, I think I'll try going to Brunel myself. I told you not to go anywhere. Aurora responded to her father sullenly. Why not? He touched his teacup and lifted it. As you know, things haven't been very peaceful lately. So don't even think about going anywhere. Stay put in the mansion. Aurora was aghast, tears welling up in her eyes. Are you forbidding your eldest daughter from going out now? He immediately turned away, avoiding her pleading, pitiful gaze. What about my brother? He answered frankly, I heard your brother has been transferred to the police station of a town called Brunel. Oh, that's why I haven't seen him. Aurora feigned ignorance. The sound of the cup hitting the saucer rang out sharply. Aurora, her father pressed, do you know why your brother is suddenly being defiant? She put on an innocent expression that I haven't heard anything. I don't know anything. She replied with a bright smile. Honestly, father, isn't my brother always in a rebellious state? She laughed it off that it's surprising you're so worried about him. It's not like you at all. A tense atmosphere suddenly descended upon the tea table. That's true, he replied with a frown. But isn't it time he stopped this defiance? He's not a child anymore. Hearing this, Aurora gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. Father, such worries. She moved closer, comforting her disgruntled father. But I think if you stopped expecting so much from him, perhaps the issue would resolve itself. Your ambitions are too grand. The daughter earnestly advised her father. I see signs of you becoming a villain, you know. You should be more careful. He shook his head in exasperation. Why did both my son and daughter turn out like this? Anyway, you're forbidden to go out. Be quiet and listen to your father. Yes, she smiled obediently that I understand. But deep inside, a daring idea was quietly forming. How can I sneak off to Brunel without father finding out? He also sat in silence, lost in his own thoughts. 12 days remained until the end of the world. Cherry was diligently preparing. After days of tireless work, Happy House was finally fully stocked. Because of that, she had been given all sorts of nicknames like the crazy woman living in the abandoned house, the lady of the abandoned house, the candy lady. She was speechless. What the heck was a crazy woman living in an abandoned house? Miss Focus, NOC not far away, saw her spacing out and called out. Darn it, tears welled up in her eyes. I don't like studying at all. But this morning, her mood was different. NOC recalled, the one who knocked on the hospital door early this morning, begging to be taught, was you, Mississippi. Cherry muttered to herself, I'm doing this because I need to know these things before the world ends in 12 days. And NOC nodded in approval. I honestly didn't think you'd keep up with me this well. Cherry gave an embarrassed laugh, because I'm very interested in these sorts of things. Another thought crossed her mind. I can't say it's thanks to memories from my past life, but let's just say it is. NOC furrowed his brow and nodded. I didn't expect Miss Cherry Sinclair to be interested in this. You definitely have another reason for being here, besides the Alpinus herbs, don't you? Thinking back, Lancaster's suspicion of her was justified. She tried to maintain a smile, but inside, she was seething with resentment. I'm sick of being suspected, she cried out. I find that quite interesting, actually, NOC shared with a smile. This is the first time I've met a woman who wasn't smitten upon seeing my face. Their eyes met. Are you doing this on purpose now? Those sparkling, flirtatious eyes. I could see right through them, even if I closed my eyes. Are you trying to seduce me? He finally relented. All right, no more joking around. I'll teach you other first aid methods. With me here, you probably won't need them, but this is the method to use for serious injuries. Hearing this, Cherry abruptly turned and stared at him wide-eyed. What? She muttered, thinking if you tell me, I'll be very grateful. Oh my, she dropped her ladle-like composure. That sounds interesting. What do I need to do? NOC called her over and said, Can you hold the mannequin's leg for a moment? She stepped forward and gripped it tightly. Like this. The leg instantly snapped off. Crack! The loud sound echoed. Cherry, holding a can of adhesive, pointed and asked, "Was this thing always this fragile?" "No," and OC shook his head. "This is a very sturdy object. Even if it falls to the ground, it won't break. Plus, it's quite expensive." She sighed and promised, "I'll compensate you for a new one." "I am sorry." "Sorry, my friend." She even offered a sincere blessing to the mannequin. Go to a good place. This made NOC laugh until tears streamed down his face. Truly unique. Miss Cherry is really interesting. Thank you for the compliment. After today's lesson, Cherry had learned some useful things. In her hands were a bunch of medicines she had received from Dr. NOC. Now I can perform basic first aid. That's a relief. Glancing at the newspaper today, she saw, he said, "The Casey Marquis family massacre." Your face hardened. This is just the beginning. The Casey Marquis family massacre. This isn't a simple murder, but a sign of a virus about to spread. The virus will surely reach the capital soon. She gazed at the peaceful scenery one last time. Being able to see the peaceful scenery of a village like this won't last much longer. At first, I wondered if there was any way to save everyone, but in reality, saving people has its limits. So, I've come to the conclusion that I should at least protect those around me until the end of the world. You're the owner of Happy House, right? A man has been waiting for you at the door. I brought the things you requested yesterday from the farm. Yes, that's right, but where are the things you said you brought? Ah, he pointed behind him. I left them temporarily outside of town because there was so much I couldn't bring it in myself. Cherry was astonished. You brought all this yourself? He sighed and explained, "No, I hired a porter, but he got injured on the way. It just ended up costing me more money." He cautiously asked, "So, is there anyone here to help me?" She nodded and ran over. It's all right. I'll help you." Eden suddenly appeared as well. I'll help you." Cherry was already tired of seeing his face. "No one summoned you." Oh. He stared at him wide-eyed in surprise. She understood. If you encountered that appearance, such a reaction was normal. "What are you moving?" Eden pressed. The two turned to look at each other. Cherry sniffed. Then, smiling, she replied, "Chickens, Mr. Lancaster." "Oh, what?" Eden immediately joined the chicken-carrying group. He glanced at the whispers around them. Nearby, some people were pointing and murmuring to each other. Eden also felt awkward. This Miss Cherry was truly difficult to understand. She glamorously carried 4 stacks of caged chickens and asked me, "What's the problem this time?" "The problem is you're carrying 4 stacks, while the 2 men are only carrying 2 each," Eden replied with a laugh. "It's nothing. You just look interesting." Cherry frowned angrily. "Me?" she muttered, glaring at him. "Why? What's so interesting about me?" But he was also puzzled. What is a noble lady like you going to do with all these chickens? Cherry excitedly shared. "Do with them? Raise them, of course. Isn't a pet chicken just wonderful?" Seeing her enthusiasm, the 2 men glanced at each other and shook their heads in exasperation. She became wary. Could her lie have been exposed? She decided to change the subject. "Anyway, we're here now, so please prepare the chicken coop and help me." In the garden, he was placing each chicken into the large coop. "I'm just asking to confirm." Eden began with Cherry. "That you're not impersonating Cherry Sinclair, are you? Or were you threatened by the young lady to pretend to be Sinclair?" She was speechless, and her face darkened, not knowing how to respond to satisfy him. "Really? Now, even my existence is being denied. Say something reasonable," she muttered in admonition. "I asked the story about Miss Cherry raising chickens reasonable." Eden immediately retorted. She's trying to control her anger. "Have some respect for other people's hobbies, will you? Is it so strange that I raise chickens?" He recalled her earlier actions. He furrowed his brow, assessing the situation. "Not strange, but what about that strength? I've never heard of Cherry Sinclair being so strong. Like that." She put on an air of nonchalance. "Just remember how I used to take my supplements regularly as a child. You probably know that a strong, noble lady isn't exactly something to brag about, so it's not something to go around advertising." "That's true." Eden nodded. She always did want to be a proper noble lady. Just then, Susanna appeared behind them, interrupting. "Miss Cherry." "What is it, Susanna? Is something the matter?" She cheerfully carried a large bag. "That I brought some things you left at home, Mississippi. I also saw this gentleman seemed to be giving you a hard time, so I came to check if you were all right," she whispered into Cherry's ear. "Susanna." Cherry's eyes became teary with emotion. "That you're a lifesaver. All right, let's see what we have here." Susanna opened the bag for Cherry. Meanwhile, the man who had just lost his chicken was chasing after it, yelling. "Let me see." Cherry stared into the bag, stunned. "Oh, this is..." Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream from outside startled all 3 of them, causing them to turn around. That scream, Cherry feared the worst. Could it be? Both she and Eden quickly stepped out of the mansion. What happened? "A monster!" the chicken seller cried out in terror. In front of him was a strange creature. "Damn it." Eden frowned. "What is that thing? Where did it even come from?" Cherry was frozen. "This isn't the time for this to appear." No, right now. The most important thing is... She glanced over. Miss Cherry, get behind me. As soon as Eden finished speaking, she dashed forward. Before anyone gets hurt, I have to destroy it. If this is what I think it is from Susanna's bag. The monster roared menacingly as she approached. It radiated a destructive power greater than any weapon. Cherry splashed a blue liquid onto the monster. It shrieked in pain and finally collapsed to the ground. Her clothes are now stained with the blue substance. She stared, dumbfounded. That was dangerous. Somehow, I managed to defeat it. She finally looked back at Eden. They stared at each other. Cherry nervously searched for an explanation. That look on his face says he won't let me off easy unless I explain this. Should I lie? She forced a laugh. Yes, everyone all right? I didn't know there were bears around here. Suddenly, Eden's eyes widened in horror. He yelled as the monster rose again, even more grotesque than before. Miss Cherry, behind you. Oh, this. She glanced back at it with an icy stare, devoid of fear. Seems like it's not that easy to kill. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out, and Cherry instinctively raised her hands to shield herself. Roskin appeared from the other side, holding a gun. Miss Sinclair, are you all right? She looked at him in surprise. Roskin, what are you doing here? I was hunting and saw a bear, so I chased it all the way here. Susanna fearfully clung tightly to Miss Cherry. Eden also rushed over. Roskin's face lit up. But is that a wild bear? If so, it's worth a fortune. Cherry sprayed glue nearby as Susanna continued to cry. Eden glanced back at the wild beast, his mind full of calculations. It's all right now, he stammered, still trembling. A demon? That must be a demon. He continued to mutter fearfully, his face pale. There really are people in this world who believe in these things. If he spreads this around, cough, cough, the man coughed violently. Cherry became wary. Eden aprurochit. If you're not feeling well, we can take you to the clinic. Stop. She grabbed Eden's arm in a panic as he prepared to step forward. Please stay there. Don't move, she shouted frantically. That person, she muttered fearfully, has been bitten. He's about to transform. I told you not to go there. Seeing Eden ignore her, she yelled angrily at him. Not far away, the chicken seller was vomiting blood in pain. Miss Cherry, what are you doing? Her face was grim as she clung to his arm. Eden was also getting angry. I still don't know what happened, but first, let go of me. No matter what, the victim should be the priority, right? She still refused to let go, her voice trembling even more. He's not human anymore. So first, let's move somewhere else. We don't need to get involved, right? Eden frowned, not understanding Cherry's meaning. What is she doing? She won't even let me help the injured man. Why is she like this? I said we can't help. Cherry snapped, yelling at him. Why won't you listen to me? I can't take down both of them. She fretted anxiously. All right, the chicken seller seemed to be undergoing some kind of transformation. Seeing the two arguing, Vanilla stepped in to mediate. Let me take him to the clinic. Cherry shouted, almost crying, Vanilla, stop. Listen to me. But she was also annoyed by Cherry's strange behavior. Sinclair, to watch someone die in front of you is inhuman. Maybe he's just sick, Susanna exclaimed fearfully from behind. There's something strange about him. Look, then we should take him to the hospital even faster. Vanilla turned around, also stunned. Susanna yelled, wait, Miss Cherry is right. What's wrong with him? The man's body began to transform. His eyes became bloodthirsty, and his arms changed strangely. Damn it, Cherry became wary. It's finally happening. A strange figure appeared before the four of them. What's wrong with him? Vanilla stared blankly. At that moment, Cherry suddenly let go of Eden's arm, thinking to herself, it's okay, calm down. Look at that grotesque face. The transformation isn't complete yet, she muttered, and then rushed forward to confront it head-on. If I'm going to kill it, it has to be now. The man was struck by a powerful blow. Damn it, she muttered. He's tougher than I thought. I have to finish this quickly, otherwise... Just as Cherry was figuring out how to deal with it, a gunshot rang out, catching her attention and causing her to turn around. Eden had acted in time. Then the three of them ran towards where she was standing. Phew, Miss Cherry thought silently. Until Eden asked seriously, do you know why things turn out like this? Don't you? No, I don't know anything. You're still choosing to avoid it. Vanilla also realized something was strange about Cherry. So why did you stop us from going over there earlier? You must know something, right? It's just, I felt something strange about that man. She replied casually. That monster earlier looked like it was carrying a bunch of germs, so I told everyone to be careful. So that's it. Vanilla bowed 90 degrees and apologized formally. I misunderstood, Mississippi. I was unnecessarily angry. I sincerely apologize and am also extremely grateful, Miss Sinclair. It's nothing. She shook her head. Anyone looking at this situation would think I'm being difficult. Besides, it's not just you, Vanilla, who felt that way. Cherry subtly glanced at someone else. Their eyes both flicked to the man standing next to her. Eden also shuddered. To be a police officer and not realize this sooner, it's truly embarrassing, Miss Cherry. All right. She nodded in forgiveness that I was also scared, so I reacted that way. But all three of them looked ahead. The fire was burning everything. What was that thing, after all? Cherry muttered, I'm not sure either. If Susanna hadn't given me the cricket bag, if I hadn't stopped Eden and Vanilla from getting closer, then maybe one of us would be in those flames right now. Susanna worriedly brought a cloak to her mistress, advising, please put this on, Mississippi. From now on, we can't let our guard down, not even for a second. Outwardly, she smiled brightly, but inside, she was on high alert. She had to stay sharp. She had been before, too. Eden suddenly spoke up. I think I've seen something like this before. Where did you see it? Vanilla immediately asked that I remember encountering something similar in the incident at Nodium Village 61. He recounted there were no casualties, only that he was dead before he could escape the villa himself. So, this isn't the first time you've seen this? Shouldn't the police catch the monster? No, he shook his head that I heard a woman killed the monster herself. Alone. That's right. Eden confirmed she's the owner of this hairpin, but I haven't seen her face. But perhaps, as I think, I also have a general understanding of this situation. Cherry panicked internally and externally. He's uncomfortably perceptive. Blushing. Oh, the first initial. Vanilla suddenly looked closely at the hairpin, then concluded, it looks like Lady Sinclair's, doesn't it? The timid mouse quickly stepped forward, blocking her view. How amazing. She feigned innocence again. Oh, I think I read this article. Was it the case where someone with the same initial as my name was resolved? Really? Vanilla was still suspicious. Strange, huh? What's strange? Cherry gave a fake laugh, denying the rumors that aren't there people everywhere with the same first initial in their name. Oh, I see. Vanilla pondered. Not that area, but Nodium Villa 61. Why does that sound so familiar? Maybe you saw it on the island? Not all. She glanced at the two standing next to each other. Lately, I've only seen articles about your scandals. Eden and Cherry immediately panicked. Vanilla continued even more forcefully. The two of you are the hot topic of conversation regarding love in Bruno. What? She shrieked, her voice echoing throughout the mansion. What's going on all of a sudden? Is it about the scandal between me and Eden? Everywhere I go, people are pointing and whispering. Even in this small village, people know me. Is someone acting as an informant? She racked her brain, thinking, for example, Miss Cherry, where are you going? She wasn't happy to see Knock, a prime candidate for the informant. This guy, for instance. I'm going to Kinner Station. Someone is arriving, so I have to go pick them up. Someone's coming here? Yes. She immediately interrogated him. Rude busser, you're not selling information about me, are you? Knock quickly waved his hands in denial. I'm not that kind of person. If I were selling your information, our being here would surely be discovered. She nodded, thinking, so it's not him. At the train station, Cherry arrived shortly thereafter. Thankfully, the train was still running normally. Huh, what's that sound over there? Her curiosity piqued. She looked around. That wasn't the train running normally just now? Thank you for watching today's video. Our story continues with many exciting developments ahead. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to support us and not miss the latest episodes. We wish you relaxing and enjoyable moments. See you in the next video. Thank you.